please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, not so tough when mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
I am so done with Billy Ann Conway back there and his alternate set of facts. He made it clear yesterday that he thought everyone in this building was invited to Greg Cody's party, and he expected it to be more exclusive because in the weeks building up to it, Greg Cody made it seem like it was going to be a hard ticket. And then when Billy saw everyone who was on the boat, he's like, that's just a Meadowlark party. That's just everybody who was at the office who was invited to the party.
No. Because I wish I had been able to invite everyone who's in this studio, and I didn't. And it was I don't know how many people from the show there were, 15, but it was a small percentage of the overall party. There were people from all facets of my life there, and I regret that in and out of this studio I had to leave out several people because the boat puts a limit on you.
Well, Stugotz took one of those seats and then did not use it.
I took 2.
Yeah. Right, but We had certain people cancel at the last minute. Like Juju was going to be here. He couldn't make it. He called me the Wednesday before the party. So when certain spots open, then you make last-minute invitations. We ended up having over 100 people there, but it was still right up to the limit we were given.
But take it up with Billy here. Billy, you explain to him what it is you said yesterday and quit.
No, I think that you're. I don't know what you're doing. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of confused here. I think what may have happened is I may have made a comment, Greg, that Dan is now obviously running with here,
right.
And I said something along the lines of, "Oh, Taylor went. That was nice." And then they're like, "Wait a minute." If I remember correctly, I painted something like that, like, "Oh, Taylor's there. How nice that he was able to share."
I believe the line was, "How the f- did Taylor get there?"
We were all thinking it, though.
I don't know. I don't. Listen, the words exactly escape me, but I think I said something along the lines. It's like, "Oh, what a nice thing for Taylor to have gotten there. I'm sure he really, enjoyed being there." And from reports I got, walking around the entire time watching college football on his phone, not celebrating Greg and not paying attention to his girlfriend, who then, shares a last name with Izzy's partner. What a small world, huh? In Miami. Like, what a good story. So I said something along the lines like, "Oh, how nice that Taylor made it," and he was able to meet Greg's friends who are of like age as Greg. Like, what a mishmash of generations sharing stories and really passing on traditions.
Getting back to what Greg Cody was saying earlier, is there such a thing as a nice retirement home? Because you guys seem to believe you are slandering the retirement homes and thinking that they're all musty, and I don't believe that the ones where you find money, you will find a general mustiness.
What Greg and I are saying and have been saying is there's a difference between a retirement community and a retirement home.
Yeah.
You choose to live in a retirement community. You do not choose, in many cases, to live in a retirement home.
Right.
That is a place your kids put you because they're tired of taking care of you. And that's it.
And there's also a distinction to be made between retirement homes and nursing homes. Now, a nursing home has, for good reason, nursing homes have a really bad reputation. I'm sure some of them are fine. But if you're in a retirement home that costs $800 a month, yeah, it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be really tiny, but it's going to be pretty good. You're going to get your free meals, that kind of thing.
I feel like we're in the weeds here.
Nope. This is how we get the younger demographic, by opening with nursing homes versus retirement homes versus retirement communities. Billy's longing for all of them. Billy is longing for a day where he doesn't have to worry about responsibilities and can just go somewhere and retire. Be amongst people who don't have to go do things. Billy's running around all the time. He's chasing kids. He's chasing Stugotz. There's no time. Billy is trying to get to the finish line of a nursing home.
We have someone here who's turning 29 this weekend, and I said, "Hey, enjoy it, because this is your last year of living, just so you know." After you get to 30, it's over. You're going to feel it. Someone said to me, like, how old are you? I go, on a good day, I feel 47. On a bad day, I'm 62, telling myself you just got 3 years left to retirement, buddy.
All right. Well, since we're talking about old and since last night's football, was exciting, was different than the football you've been watching that I've been complaining about for 2 weeks.
There were points scored. Yeah.
There weren't just points scored, because I do think that this part is always interesting to me around sports, and I know it's just one night, Stugotz. I understand that you don't want to make big, giant leaps off of one night. However, if we've seen 3 weeks of, the defense is caught up, don't like so much watching the defenders be the best athletes, kind of want to watch CeeDee Lamb run around in the end zone, you do realize that the next step on how the offenses get in front of the defenses is to have two of the quarterbacks who played last night who can do multiple things, that are running backs and quarterbacks, and that's how you stay ahead in whatever the next evolution of this is as you fast forward. Hey, Caleb Williams, figure it out in 3 games.
You're talking about Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence, yeah?
Well, Trevor Lawrence, the reason I'm bringing up...
He's a bust.
I'm bringing up the losers because they can't do what the winners did. They can't do as many different... It's what I saw when Dak Prescott is losing on Sunday, Stugotz. I'm like, look at what the other team does.
Right.
When they can just hold on to the ball, run the ball, and you can't actually stop their quarterback from being a passer and a runner. We're not there yet, right? In some ways, it's still the league that belonged to Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning. But all those guys that are young are now coming on a fast-forwarded time frame where, hey, Bryce Young, you better figure it out in 18 games. Caleb Williams, you better not look bad because look at what Jayden just made you look like.
Yep. He's interesting, Jayden Daniels. He's completed, I think, 89% of his passes. He just looks like he belongs out there. He's incredible.
Less so week one, I would say.
Right.
He was great last night, but week one,
was great.
Week one, he didn't look like he belonged at all.
Yeah, but it's the poise, it's the ability to pass, it's the ability to run, as you pointed out. He has both those abilities, and he looks like he's a veteran out there. It looks like he's been playing in the NFL for 10 years already.
I think last night was a watershed for the Washington franchise and its fans. I think they saw their entire future blossom last night. I think
we have our guy.
I think Commanders fans are thinking, we are back. We are going to be good again after so many years of not being good. And I think that was an epiphany last night. That was created by last night's performance.
I think Jayden's looked good every week. That first week, they missed a couple of kicks, and you've seen since then when week 2, all they could do was kick field goals, but they've had now 2 consecutive weeks without punts or turnovers. Last night's game was the first game since 1940 where neither team had a punt or a turnover.
Wow.
The Bengals now start 0-3. Jacksonville now starts 0-3. The water's about to climb in the room in Jacksonville and Cincinnati, Stugotz, because it takes a little while for the pressure to get to Jacksonville. It happens slower there. Everything gets there a little bit slower. They've lived in the cover of anonymity for a good long time, but it was their owner, Tony Khan's father, who said this is the best Jacksonville team there has been, correct?
Shad Khan, yeah.
He says that
Yes.
that this is the best Jacksonville team there's been, and it is interesting to me, Stugotz. Like, this part is just hugely interesting. As the game changes quickly, it sort of comes up and saws from beneath what Trevor Lawrence does. So in 20 games, he's going to feel physically like Baker Mayfield because the game just chewed him up, and he's not as much of an athlete as some of these guys who are now wanting to play the position. And the timeline is now, Bryce Young, you better figure it out in 19 games. You got 19 games to figure it out, or we're going to put Andy Dalton in there. And Andy Dalton's a relic from the past. But to me, it's super interesting, Stugotz, that Washington, bad for 2 decades because of ownership.
Yep.
Gets the owner out of there, who's got to be dying when he sees this, when he sees the position played perfectly last night in all the versatile ways that make you see over in Buffalo, oh my God, that team might be better than everyone knows because they've gotten rid of Stephon Diggs, and it's now, Josh, just spread it around. Just give it to everybody. You don't have to worry about a number 1 receiver. You be the best. And all of a sudden you've got, has he had a turnover? Has Josh Allen?
I think 1.
You're not going to beat Buffalo. You will not beat Buffalo if they do not turn the ball over. Like, that team will be better than everybody if they don't turn the ball over, Kansas City included, because they're the only ones who can play like that on the days that they don't have any turnovers. Kansas City can't play like that anymore, Stugotz. They can't wide open the field, score 38 points that way. They're going 5 yards a time, 16 play drives in Kansas City.
He has 0 turnovers. Are you saying there's something off in Kansas City? Are you? Are you saying that?
You better be careful.
What you said it. I didn't say it. I didn't say anything.
I'm saying that there's something on in Buffalo.
Oh, I got it. Wow. Well played by you.
Both are true, by the way.
Yeah.
Something is off in Kansas City.
They're 3-0.
Yeah, I know that, but something is off anyway.
Am I wrong for thinking that the biggest story from last night is Trevor Lawrence?
It is.
You're right.
Because this guy was dubbed a can't-miss prospect. He's followed the line of Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence. The most recent can't-miss is Caleb Williams. It's interesting. Even Andrew Luck didn't quite live up. He was very good, but he didn't live up to the generational tab that they applied on him before he decided to retire. But Trevor Lawrence has a really strange professional career arc where people were doubting him. Doug Peterson comes to town, and you finally see it from him. He's in the same offense with the same coach, and he hasn't won a goddamn game since Thanksgiving. And now he's seeing ghosts in the pocket. He doesn't even allow for 2 seconds to go by before he tries to tuck it down and run poorly. This is a shocking thing what's happened to Trevor Lawrence. Is he done?
I agree. That's the biggest story from a great doubleheader last night, an interesting doubleheader. Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback with his reputation. He's reputed, by the way, obviously. But
this can't be the biggest story from last night.
It
You
is.
guys can't make Trevor
No,
Lawrence
Dan.
the
No,
biggest
here-
story.
This
from
is a
last night.
number 1 overall pick who just signed a massive contract, and he gets a pass for some reason. He is 0-8 in his last 8 starts, as Mike pointed out. He's been a bust.
And what's fascinating to me is that after signing this big, huge contract in the offseason, he is not impervious to an 0-3 start. Doug Peterson, after the game last night, was very vague about Trevor Lawrence moving forward. He did not give him a voice of support in any way. He might have said, he's our guy, we're going to get past 0-3. He did not do that. He was very, very vague about the quarterback situation.
He needs to cut his hair. He looks too majestic, and he looks too I feel like he needs a haircut.
He needs
looks
to
like a
earn.
surfer.
He needs to earn that hair.
He needs to earn the majestic look that he gives off. Because I feel like if he had a different haircut, we wouldn't have these crazy expectations.
So shave it off and then earn
mean,
it one win at a time?
I'm not saying buzz cut.
Herbert did it,
I don't
yeah.
know what the next haircut is. I'm just saying I think that could help him.
Ooh, a mushroom cut.
Dude, I think that's too much face.
He does have a lot of face.
No, but if he gets a mushroom, he covers part of his forehead.
That's true.
I think Josh Allen would be better if he had Trevor Lawrence's hair. I think that he
now-
deserves the
He
Trevor
would
Lawrence
be better?
hair. Yes.
How can he be?
Well, you're the one who thinks he can't. You're
Correct.
You're the one who thinks he stinks.
What?
You're
No,
the one-
I said it.
Billy never said
I
that.
never said that.
You said he had a stupid face and he's
No.
overrated. You have said he's.
No.
I said it's great that Taylor's at this party. That's what I said.
This is a guy that played Nick Saban's Alabama at the peak of their powers off the field. We all would have bet anything that guy would have worked out. There's a reason why. There's only been a handful of guys that are at that position because it's so risky to evaluate. Can't miss. And we thought, maybe this is a miss. And then a quarterback guru came to town and saved him. They win a playoff game. And now he's just totally fallen off, and he's worse than ever, despite them addressing the offensive line, despite them trying all sorts of pairings of weapons. He is not good.
I had a fan reach out to me on X and ask me this question, and I ask you guys as the football experts, and we'd have to enter a time machine right now and go back a couple years, but the question was, did Urban Meyer ruin Trevor Lawrence his rookie season, or now, with the gift of hindsight, did Trevor Lawrence ruin Urban Meyer?
Huh.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le
Interesting.
Batard Show. Did Urban Meyer ruin Trevor Lawrence, or did Trevor Lawrence ruin Urban Meyer?
I don't understand that hypothesis, considering Doug Peterson came to town and everyone thought, okay, he fixed Trevor Lawrence.
But look, is he fixed?
He's broken.
And I wonder, too, if things continue this direction, who's going to go first, Trevor Lawrence or Doug Peterson?
Well, it's not going to be Trevor Lawrence because they just gave him a ton of money, and
Exactly.
you can't get out from under
Coach
that
killer all
quickly.
of a sudden?
But his stats are shocking. Like, if you compare his stats to some other first-round picks from over the years, it's really surprising. I can go out to the board, put some numbers together, and maybe do some comparisons that would shock you guys.
All right, please do that because it allows you to leave the room. Go ahead and do that.
Awesome, thank you.
We would love to have whatever information you have.
I was so amazed with how bad Trevor Lawrence was playing last night. I went into this rant on my couch to my wife, and she didn't care about what I was saying, but I went on for like 2 minutes. How are there not 32 good quarterbacks? How do we not have 32 Josh Allens? Football is the biggest sport. It's so popular.
32 Josh Allen.
But just 32 people that were like, this guy's good at quarterback. We have 10 teams in the
They
league.
are good at quarterback. It's just different scales
But
of how good they are.
How do we not have 32 that are like
Well,
at the level of like, this guy deserves to be a starter?
One of the reasons that this is so difficult is Trevor Lawrence was allegedly can't miss, and a whole lot of people thought Josh Allen in college could only miss because he was so inaccurate, and I was one of them. Like, the evaluation of this position totally stinks.
It's the only sport we do this. Like, there's plenty of small forwards. There's plenty of point guards. There's every other sport we find enough guys.
It's a hard position, man.
But just the idea that we can't get 32.
the hardest.
No.
It's the hardest.
I get that, but we can't get 32 out of the
No.
millions
No, we
of
can't.
people
The
that
answer
play
is
this.
no.
Well,
That's
no.
crazy.
The answer is no.
But it's yes. I think like it's a boring answer, but like a lot of times it's just the system. It's not having the right pieces. It's not having the right coaching. Like look at what Sam Darnold is doing. The Jets wrote him off, and now he's having an incredible season because he's found himself in the right position. Like Baker Mayfield also was written off by multiple teams and finds himself in the right position. Like sometimes you just need the right pieces to come together, and like it could fall on the quarterback, but it's just not the right place at the right time.
And the other interesting thing about the quarterback position is that sometimes we write you off and you ain't dead yet. And Sam Darnold's a good example.
Geno Smith.
Well,
Yeah,
but
right
wait a
there.
minute.
Pretty good.
What Billy is saying is right, actually.
It's
not,
boring,
it's-
but-
no, but it's not that there aren't 32 good quarterbacks. It's that there are absolutely not 32 good quarterbacks in 32 good positions to play quarterback. Like that's what you're saying is so that we can find 32, and if we put all of them
On Kansas City.
on Kansas City, not
Andy
anymore.
Reid.
Not anymore.
Something's off,
No,
huh?
Stugotz,
Wow.
not anymore.
Wow,
It's not-
dude.
no.
Doubting Kansas City, Dan?
No.
Is that what- something's off. Just walked into that one.
Allow me to try to explain what's happening with the quarterback position in the plainest possible terms. Imagine you're one of the best ever to do something. You're really good at your job. But I've got a group of approximately 40 people that will spend a week obsessing about how they can make you less good at your job. It's really difficult to overcome that. Now, I'm really good at my job. I'm spending a week trying to beat this team of 40 players and coaches. But these
does
are
get overlooked.
geniuses.
It does get overlooked a lot that if Trevor Lawrence is indeed seeing ghosts, they're being provided by whatever Buffalo's doing. With a literal dead man as their safety intercepting the ball. And I thought that team was going to be weaker because they lost both their safeties, but they've inserted someone who was dead a couple of seasons ago, and now it's a literal ghost that's haunting Trevor Lawrence wandering around the secondary, preparing all week to see a less confident Trevor Lawrence.
You have a combination of highly athletic people, big and strong, and highly intelligent people telling them where to go. Some people, despite being among the 32 best in the world at doing one thing, are just going to look bad by comparison.
This is funny, though, because I told you guys last week that in the third quarter last week, Trevor Lawrence had for the game 16 passing yards. But if he does it on Monday night, everyone notices. If it gets buried in the 1 o'clock games on Sunday,
no one cares.
All of a sudden, nobody cares. Let's go out to Jeremy in the other room. Jeremy is telling us that he's at the big board and he's got an exclusive sideline report that will, again, make Greg Cody rewarded for saying the biggest story from last night was Trevor Lawrence, not that a rookie was better than you've ever seen a rookie be on Monday night at quarterback, not Josh Allen being perfect, something else. What do you got, Jeremy?
Well, you worry that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to ruin Trevor Lawrence. You guys mentioned #1 overall pick, can't miss prospect. So let's take a look at his stats compared. So QB #1, QB #2. This is through the first 53 career games. That's what Trevor Lawrence has played thus far. So QB #1 has 12,330 passing yards. QB #2, 12,639. So advantage goes to QB #2. 60 touchdowns for QB #1 to 40 interceptions. 78 touchdowns to 56 interceptions for QB #2. So while their TD to interception rates are similar, 1.5 to 1.4, TDs goes to QB #2, interceptions goes to QB #1. Yards per attempt, we're looking at right about the same thing again. Yards per attempt for QB #1, 6.7. Yards per attempt for QB #2, 6.6, and QB rating right around the same. 84.5 for QB number 1, 80.2 for QB number 2. So, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. I ask you guys, who do you think is QB number 1, and who is our mystery QB number 2? Which one of these is Trevor Lawrence, and who do you think we're comparing Trevor Lawrence to?
I think you told us Trevor's
I think
one.
Trevor's number 1.
And the other one's a mystery.
So Trevor Lawrence is number 1, but who is QB number 2? Any guesses here from
Gardner
the group?
Minshew.
Oh, that's a
Not
good
Gardner
guess.
Minshew.
Really?
It's a good guess, though.
That is a good guess. So we should just go through backup
Joe
quarterbacks.
Burrow.
Not Joe Burrow.
It's going to be
Tua.
Nope.
It's going to be somebody that's kind of stinky
These are bad stats.
in order to play this game.
The answer is Blake Bortles.
Wow.
Of course, UCF.
Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence is
Shocker.
Blake Bortles. The Jacksonville Jaguars have done it again.
That is
All right.
damning.
All right.
That is
not great.
Not a great situation. You fooled me by going with
for Lawrence,
a retired player.
Steve Kornacki
Former
over
Jack.
there.
I am really bothered that we finally get some scoring, and what you guys want to do is bust talk. You guys want to do that the big story from last night was the failure instead of the success.
Well, he just seems to slide for some reason. Trevor Lawrence, maybe it's Jacksonville, maybe things happen slowly there, but he seems to get a pass where guys like Tua do not.
Right.
It's odd.
I threw a bouquet at Jayden Daniels. He had a great game, and now
Right.
all Washington fans are going, hey, we're back, we got our guy. But Trevor Lawrence is the one who just signed way too big a contract way too soon, and now his head coach is going, we don't know. We're not sure about the quarterback position.
I
It's
guess
crazy.
you could say the biggest story from last night is the fact that Joe Burrow is 0-3. I mean,
But he had a good game. I mean,
did.
they didn't lose because
well,
of
but
him.
the Bengals being 0-3 is and losing 2 home games now to Washington and New England.
Yeah,
Okay,
bad.
like those are
Yes.
2 home games,
Right.
And
Inexcusable.
getting outplayed by, we can agree, can we not? The future. Getting outplayed by, that looked like the future to me. 21 of 23, gonna run and throw. The problem with him, and I don't know why he's not getting this, because Stugotz and Mike were talking before the show, and Stugotz actually said, I watched the game, Dan. He's not going to get hurt.
Yeah, he's not.
And I'm like, you can't play like that and not get hurt.
And they said he doesn't like to slide.
Yes, they're trying to get him to slide. He doesn't like to slide. He slid once last night. Dan Quinn gave him a standing ovation. It was weird. But I am telling you, Dan, I have watched a lot of football in my life. This guy knows how to absorb a hit, and he's a little bigger than people give him credit for. I'm telling you right now.
He's like 210 pounds, but I will say in Stugotz's defense, Jayden Daniels played a lot of football before he entered the NFL, and he's only really dealt with one injury. And his playing style's been pretty much the same. He's always been this kind of dude, and he only had like a little ankle injury one time.
I told you guys that means nothing, by the way. That he's been able to skate until now.
He played
playing
55 games. He started 55 games in college.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think it's only a matter of time. I've thought that with Josh Allen too, but you would say he plays such a dangerous game, he's bound to get hurt. He was lined up opposite of Joe Burrow, who plays primarily from the pocket and always gets hurt.
Please give me the size differences between Josh Allen and Daniels.
Jayden.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Please give
Josh
me.
Allen's
sure.
huge.
I was just
Please
making
give
sure.
me the size difference between these two, because you saying he's bigger than you think, he's bigger than he looks. Josh Allen,
Josh Allen is 6'5", 237.
Yeah, he's huge.
Jaden's
He's
listed
a tight
6'4",
end.
210.
Yep.
I'm telling you, there's a nice little frame there. Like he's gotta get
difference.
bigger. All he has to do is ask for like his OC what he's on, and then 20 pounds like that. You see Cliff last night? What
Oh,
the
he
hell's
looks
going on
good.
there?
Yeah,
He
different
looks
guy.
good.
Yeah.
he's got a lot of time to be in the weight room, Kingsbury.
Just a total body transformation. Somehow got hotter.
I need the video team to get artificial intelligence in play. Please find a face of Josh Allen and put it on a horse, please.
That would be John Elway, right?
I don't know how I'm going to survive this football season 3 weeks in. Stugotz, can you do all of that a little quieter? The headset, the
Yeah,
microphone,
sorry about that,
just
Dan.
all
No.
of it a little
Let's keep
quiet.
it
Like
moving, though.
before
Yeah.
we
Picky.
start the segment, can you do all of
I'm
that?
excited. Yeah, you talk football.
Well, you shouldn't be excited because he wore me out during the break. And him and Cody, the last thing I heard, honest to God, I'm not kidding you, was Stugotz said, That's a good question, Greg, whether Brady made Belichick in New England or Belichick made Brady. That's the last thing that I heard, the conversation they were having, because every week Stugotz is coming in here and he's putting Belichick on another team.
Yeah.
And he's just, it's all he's doing through 3 weeks of the season. I'm not going to be able to do this with him all season.
I have my top 5 teams that should hire Bill Belichick through week 3 if you're interested. But I was just saying, Dan, the greatest coach in the history of professional sports is available. And he's telling you and telling everyone that he wants to get back in the game. He wants to be a head coach. And there are teams like Cincinnati who have gotten off to a bad start, who have Joe Burrow, who have Jamar Chase, who have a good team, a team that went to the Super Bowl. These teams should be sprinting to Bill Belichick.
So Cincinnati should hire a new coach today is what
Yes, because, Dan, someone's going to hire Belichick, and it better be you. If you're one of those teams that is off to a slow start, if you're one of those teams that had, dreams of making it to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, the greatest coach in the history of your sport is available. Go get him before someone else does.
But the greatest coach in the history of the sport is 7-9, 10-7, 8-9, 4-13 the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, so it's Brady,
Yes.
to answer your question. Yeah.
And he didn't win in Cleveland before Brady either. When
I
Bill
don't- I
Belichick
really don't
doesn't
wanna do
have
this.
Brady,
He
I don't
is
wanna do
84 and 103 without Tom Brady.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't,
Overrated.
Thank you.
I, don't
I
wanna
report,
do
you
this.
decide.
McDavid and Belichick, overrated.
Dan, I toss it out there. I was thinking maybe Bill Belichick holds out and he coaches the U.S. flag football team in 4 years and he wins America a gold medal, and that's his redemption story. He holds out. He bypasses the all-time record, and he says, you know what, I'm going to be the first coach in history to win a Super Bowl and a gold medal, and he does it for this country. What do you think?
Wow.
Daniels and Allen look like that, and you guys are going to fire everybody, and Trevor Lawrence is a bust. That's what you guys are going to do. You get 3 out of the 4 quarterbacks last night play great, and you guys are going to obsess on the one who didn't and then fire all of the coaches? That's what we're going to do in week 3?
Well, to me, the interesting thing is Doug Peterson reaction. My opinion is I'm not worried. Jacksonville's 0-3, so what? I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence. He's a good quarterback who's probably going to throw for 370 yards next week, and then we're all going to go, oh, yeah, we wrote him off too soon. Trevor Lawrence isn't the problem there, but if Doug Peterson doesn't have any faith in him because he's 0-3, that's a problem.
What I would prefer to look at, okay, and it allows me to mock me because I have been extraordinarily wrong about this quarterback. Josh Allen this decade now has more 4-touchdown games than anybody. When that guy doesn't turn the ball over, it doesn't matter that defense is greater all over your league. If that guy gets to run around with the football, he's too big and strong for any of your defenses to do anything about it. Kyler Murray, congratulations. You surprised us earlier in the season by making Arizona look a little better than we thought they would. But Buffalo beats you at the end because they have that quarterback who can put up 30 points a game. And while his skill guys are good, and they are good, you don't know them yet because he's been throwing the ball too much to Stephon Diggs because we gave Stephon Diggs all the credit for Josh Allen's evolution, and now he looks like the best quarterback in the sport. If you're going to argue on behalf of Sam Darnold for me, for 3 weeks, like there's no one who's played better than Josh Allen, and if he doesn't turn the ball over, he's going to win most valuable player. If he doesn't turn the ball over and is healthy, he's going to have an overwhelming season.
Last night, he became the first quarterback in NFL history in one game to complete 75% of his passes, throw 4 or more touchdowns, have no turnovers, take no sacks, and lead his team in rushing yards.
And that was in the first half. No, I'm kidding, but it felt like
In
it.
one
That
game,
first
it's
half was
unbelievable.
insane.
Yep.
I'm assuming now people know Coleman and Shakir, and they're going to know more and more about these skill guys. But after the game, I don't know if you guys heard what Josh Allen was saying. I don't know if you want to interpret that it was a dig at Stephon Diggs or not. But he was talking specifically about my team, everybody eats. My team, everybody eats. We're going to be throwing all over the place to everybody, and I just don't know what you do with that team if they don't turn the ball over. If
You lose to them.
I have one suggestion. Don't play man. Throw zone at them. They were playing man all night, and their guys are just running all over the field. Like, show blitzes, back off. You have to to our point, you have to confuse Josh Allen, make him throw picks, or else he's just going to kill you.
Bunch of coaches and doctors in here.
It's amazing. It really is.
That's just what Louis Riddick was saying. It's like all they're doing is playing zone.
I'm making fun of myself as well.
The reminder is that great receivers don't make the quarterback. The quarterback makes great receivers. We saw it with Tyreek Hill leaving Kansas City. Doesn't bother Mahomes.
It does, though. Don't say it doesn't.
Yeah, but he made Tua great.
Guys, don't say it doesn't, okay? Kelsey and Hill made it so that Mahomes was 9 yards per pass. He's now 5 yards per pass because he may still win, but it's a different offense.
Yeah, but he's won 2 Super Bowls since Tyreek Hill left.
I'm just fascinated by how quickly this sport can flip from week to week. Josh Allen has now once again solved his turnover issues.
The greatest.
Trevor Lawrence and the Jags gave the Chiefs in the playoffs almost everything that they could handle, and he stinks. Jalen Hurts looked worthy and went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl, and now it looks like the NFL has figured him out.
Jeremy just sent me this tweet from Warren Sharp that proves my point. Since 2020 on early downs, Josh Allen versus man coverage, 42 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Josh Allen versus zone coverage, 27 touchdowns, 29 interceptions.
Now, what if Tom Brady says, I want to coach the U.S. flag football team to block Bill Belichick? Does Bill Belichick then say, you know what? Let's turn this into one of those things. I'm going to coach Croatia.
Oh, my God.
And then we finally have Belichick versus Brady for the gold medal of the first ever Olympic flag football competition. Goosebumps. Get ready for L.A., folks.
What kind of horse would Josh Allen be? Would it be a Clydesdale? Would
Mustang.
it be a stallion?
Stallion, I think.
Clydesdale's too slow.
Yeah.
Well, but I think of him as big
Slow
and
trot,
thick
you know?
and hard to tackle.
Yeah.
Like I imagine a Clydesdale would be really hard to bring down.
Sure, but it's not fast. It doesn't. You don't think of a Clydesdale as running.
Faster than a human.
Right.
I know, but it would have.
But
to
not
be,
elusive.
It would have to be a thoroughbred, a big thoroughbred.
Yeah.
It would have to be a stallion of some
Yeah,
sort,
like that.
right?
That's good. That's
Like a
that's
Triple
more.
Crown winner. My
Well,
dad's
A
right.
centaur.
A centaur?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence looks like the protagonist who would come in on a stallion in a romantic novel, correct? But Josh Allen, a centaur, you have his face on a horse.
Sure.
And the horse has to be big and thick, though, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know why you guys are doing this. Perhaps you can explain it to me. I heard for many years great consternation about Lamar Jackson's build and style of play not being something that could stay healthy. And it wasn't because he was hurt a lot in college, because he wasn't. So you weren't using the resume of being hurt a lot in college. Why are you guys not doing this with Jayden Daniels, the only quarterback in this era that I have seen who moves around and actually was very good at avoiding hits was Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was able to move around and wouldn't get into a secondary and be reckless with his body.
There are similar things when you watch Jayden Daniels. Like, no one gets a clean hit. It doesn't seem like anyone gets a clean hit. And he does the little things right before impact. Like, he'll go one way, he'll position his body another way, in which he's not taking those direct hits.
I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing what what I saw with Russell Wilson. I'm seeing a player who's going to get hurt if he keeps playing the way that he is playing, unafraid to go down, because Russell Wilson would go down.
Lamar Jackson is 2 inches shorter than Jayden Daniels. He's presently listed at 5 pounds heavier than Jayden Daniels. And remember what Lamar Jackson looked like at Louisville. Like, he put on like a good 50 pounds just in his neck to get to the NFL. It's why I think that Jayden Daniels' frame actually is kind of built to hold up. Again, even Lamar Jackson did get hurt, and some of that was contract, and he wanted to play it a little bit safely. But there's no way to actually predict injuries. All we can go off of is, has this person got hurt playing that style before? And so far, Jayden Daniels has had a pretty clean career in that respect.
Give me the size, please, height and weight of the last time that the Commanders had this kind of hope at the position. Give me what RG3's height and weight were when everyone was saying there is no way that will physically hold up, and it could not physically hold up and did not physically
listed
hold
at 6'2", 223. I don't know what he was listed when he started playing, but I just know that when he got hit, he went flying.
And so you guys are telling me, and please, because I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I remember coming in here when the first few times I saw Russell Wilson, and one of the things that awed me about it was, oh my God, the whole defense is trying to catch a fly with chopsticks. They're not going to be able to get to him, and every time he gets to the sideline or every time he gets in front of somebody, he curls up in a way that makes it so they're never hitting him clean. And yet still, Russell Wilson has aged prematurely and his body doesn't work right because they hit him plenty.
Yeah, I think if you're playing the odds, what you're doing is totally safe. This guy plays a more physical brand at the position. Naturally, the numbers are going to catch up. You take so many hits. It's not really a debate for me. All I'm doing is holding up like he's bigger than you think, and he hasn't gotten nearly as hurt as you might think.
Oh, but please, let me make this part clear as I make fun of Greg Cody and Stugotz for obsessing about Trevor Lawrence and bust on a day of celebration. I'm not saying that he's going to get hurt, even though football's incredibly violent and anyone can get hurt the next play. I'm asking, why aren't you doing the same thing to him that you were doing to RG3? Why aren't you doing
Because
this?
when RG3 got hit, he went flying.
Lamar
Yes,
Jackson.
right.
Lamar Jackson.
It didn't happen when he got into the league.
But
Exactly
people kept
right.
telling me he was going to get hurt, though.
But he didn't.
But he also got a lot bigger in the pros, and now like he's hard to tackle. Like Lamar Jackson actually punishes defenders. It was a crazy body transformation. I just know that when Jayden Daniels does get someone to touch him, he falls forward. He's presently 3 weeks into his pro career. We'll see. Maybe he'll learn, but he hasn't. He's continuing to run every week. Teams are designing their defense to stop him from running and to hit him, and it hasn't happened just yet, but this is a numbers game. Those hits do add up.
Quarterbacks have 4 essential skills: accuracy, arm strength, speed, and knowing how not to get injured. And the last one is underappreciated. Go out of bounds. Learn how to slide tackle. Slide tackle earlier. Tua got concussed, and he never should have. He ran head into Damar Hamlin, and he should have gotten down earlier. He'd already had the first down. You have to learn how not to get injured.
Plus, Dan, with RG3.
That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to
No,
say.
it's not
not
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous at
thing to
all.
say.
No, you're acting like it's not a skill.
it
Are you
is-
kidding
it's
me?
It's a skill that you can
It's
have,
an
and then it means
asinine-
nothing
it's
one
an-
week.
We're
'cause
not
you get
saying
hit.
that Jayden Daniels isn't going to get hurt or can't get hurt. That's what. No
It
one
sounds
is,
like you guys are acting like he has an ability not
a
to
knowledge.
get hurt.
A knowledge.
It is an ability.
Just because
there
he hasn't
is an ability for some players. It doesn't mean they won't get hurt. There is an ability for certain players to not take
Yes.
a direct hit.
There
They know
are
what to
measures.
do.
Yeah, you run out of bounds, you
Right.
slide early. Like there. Okay, so like Anthony
Things
Rich-
he's not presently doing.
Anthony Richardson, for example, is substantially bigger. He's 6'4", 244, and people look at him and say he needs to change the way he's playing the game because he's going to get hurt. Now, obviously, that's a result of last year him actually getting hurt multiple times, but he's someone based on his size that you would think, wow, he's big enough, he's not going to get hurt. But there are injury concerns with him if he doesn't change the style of play that he has presently.
The reason that I bring all of it up, just to be clear, is that I've only heard it twice before, and I'm not hearing it about this player, and it's legitimately confusing to me. When Lamar Jackson came into the league, everyone said, you cannot play like that. 2 MVPs. RG3 comes into the league, has a season for all time, first season, running to 80 yards down the sideline. Everyone says, you cannot play like that. And his body fell apart. And I'm simply putting in front of the room because I think it's interesting. Oh, that got quieted. Was it Lamar who quieted it? Because you now see, well, you can play like that. But when Cody says that Daniels has some sort of knowledge on how not to get hurt, it reminds me of when the Dolphins started strong with Bill Parcells and they just stayed healthy. And Stugotz said, yeah, Parcells knows how to keep them healthy while eating a Dove bar on a treadmill.
That was a ridiculous take.
But you're doing it again.
I'm not doing it again because I was giving credit to a coach for having that ability and not the players for having that ability.
I don't give-
And players absolutely have that ability.
They don't have that ability. Tom Brady,
You're
you
wrong.
would say he might have had that ability, but then they changed all the rules the year he got hurt.
Taking in all these variables, their play on the field, their ability to keep the game relatively clean, their ability to get rid of the ball, and their ability to be available. The best ability is availability.
Well said.
Who do you trust in this league at that position? Who do you trust?
To not get hurt?
To everything. To not blow you a game, to not be the reason that you lose because they're in the game and they're making the smart decisions, or you just trust them to be available for that game. I put together a top 5 list.
Wow, I like it.
Because we were talking about there aren't 32 people that we can trust to be good at this position. So I put together a top 5 list of quarterbacks I trust implicitly.
What is this horse behind me with Josh Allen's face
That's
on
for
it?
AI,
It's
man.
like Will
It's
Levis.
fancy.
That's Will Levis.
Yeah.
Okay, those
Beautiful
legs
eyes,
are
though.
very small,
Great eyes.
very frail, very thin. That doesn't look anything like Josh Allen, though.
That would terrify me if it came running out of the.
Well, it looks more like a warthog with Trevor Lawrence hair than it
Like
looks like a
Pumbaa.
horse.
It's like if Pumbaa was a football player.
The head's too big. Like the head, it's not proportional
Not
in any
body
way.
shame the fictitious horse.
Outside looking in,
Nice.
Matthew Stafford. Maybe he'll make an occasional mistake here or there. Certainly, we know he's tough, but
He'll show up.
If I look at the lot of the NFL quarterbacks, he's certainly one of the good ones. I don't think he'll lose me the game.
Are we trusting them to? What are we
right.
trusting them to be available to win,
all
or
of it.
just?
He's lost a
all
lot
of
of games, Mike.
All
I
of
mean,
it.
I know he won the big
won a
games,
Super
but lost a
Complete
lot of
trust
games.
is
Right.
what
Had he
you're
not
arguing.
won that
He was-
big game, though, how would we view him?
He shouldn't have won
with a
that big
no-look
game.
pass.
These
Yeah.
are
No-look
quarterbacks
pass.
that I trust today.
Okay.
To do all the right things and to be available for me and to not be the reason to lose the game.
September 24th, 2024.
Today.
The
Got it.
reason that
Could
this
change, though,
is
right?
a little bit, it's a little rickety, your list, is I do feel like we all know that Matthew Stafford is a whole bunch of bones tied together by string. That he's been hurt.
San Francisco
He's been
last week.
physically hurt. Not he plays.
Trust it.
He
Puka's
plays.
out.
He plays, but the same thing that has taken out Cooper Kupp and Puka because their bodies can't handle it. Stafford's body can handle it, but not so well that he's not made of string and wicker and wicker. Like it's
Wicker.
Well
Yes,
said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no. So listen,
I
but
mean,
here's the thing: those
It could
receivers
have gone
are
a lot
out.
worse, honestly.
Those receivers are. It could have. Those receivers are out, Dan. But you know who showed up? Matthew Stafford. I mean, that's it.
You're really scrutinizing an OLI here.
Right.
All right. I have another OLI.
well because it's hard to trust. Go ahead, though.
This is
Another
for
one.
top
The second
five.
one. Okay.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
The only issue with him is health. But if Joe Burrow is in a game, I don't think I'm going to lose that because Joe Burrow blew me the
You're
game.
trusting him not to get injured, though. You said
No, like I understand. That's why he's OLI.
Availability
He didn't make the
of-
top 5. That's why he's OLI. You're really screwing. He's right there.
All right, go ahead.
Right there. Number 5. Tom Brady.
Like it. Not number one.
Right
huh?
now, today. Trust him.
You know what? Fair.
Number 4. Patrick Mahomes.
4.
Yeah.
4. Okay.
3 better than this.
Nope. End of list. It's impossible to trust guys. It's really hard. You put hundreds of millions of dollars in investment in these guys, they could turn an ankle on an offensive lineman going backwards. It's an impossible sport.
People are coming after me on Twitter saying that there are not 30 good point guards and 30 good small forward, like that I was
They're right.
wrong.
Yeah,
and that all
of
these
course.
They're
sports,
right.
there aren't 30 good of all of these.
No.
So maybe it's just hard to find good athletes, maybe.
No, it's hard to be greater than all of the good athletes.
There it is.
Because I do think the thing that gets lost is what Mike was saying. That whole thing about the team obsessing with all of their athletes about exactly where all of your weaknesses are. Like they send out advanced scouts, organizations study everything in the film and data departments, and all of them are studying your. Imagine, Chris, given how you do this job,
Well,
if another team was preparing all week to get you to do it poorly, to defend against
They
you
kind of are. I mean.
doing it well.
You're just describing Billy. But it's just imagine, like, you're trying to do your job, and the Jim Rome Show has sent an advanced scout to get in your way and learn, like, all the ways that you're bad at your job. Like, the ill-timed bathroom break. Okay, give him water. Like, it's a tough job.
they're like making noise in here on third down. I'm like, quiet, guys. I'm trying to focus.
Again, though, when Mike says it's a tough job, 3 human beings did it really well last night, and you guys wanted to talk about the one who didn't.
Yeah, that's sports. We're guys.
Well, That's how we do it
the
on
guy
sports
who's-
radio
The guy who
podcasting.
didn't was one of the most hyped quarterback
Yeah,
prospects in football history.
Yeah, to me, that's a story.
Ever. Right.
The
Yeah.
one
And the most
guy
well-paid.
that didn't play well was tabbed as a can't miss. Joe Burrow is, you can make an argument, he's the greatest college quarterback of all time. He didn't come in as a number 1 overall pick. with the certified stamp of can't miss. Trevor Lawrence did.
Okay, you say that, but all three of the quarterbacks who played well last night, all of them, were drafted really high because their athletic gifts suggested, oh my God, Jayden Daniels averaged 10 yards per play in college. Averaged 10 yards per play because he was that kind of invincible in college. The three guys who played well last night, everyone says they have the skill set to be special players. I was one of them saying Josh Allen did not because he was inaccurate in college.
Right. I mean, Josh Allen went to Wyoming.
Yeah, he was the only guy that played last night that wasn't either taken number 1 overall or didn't win a Heisman. And he was still like a controversial high draft pick, but a high draft pick.
But had the physical gifts to overcome the fact that he had a completion percentage of 50% in college and turned the ball over a bunch.
Had great coaching, dude. Like Dorsey caught some flack because of they needed a sacrificial lamb, but they just kept Joe Brady, who was a part of that. They got guys from a staff that did that with Cam Newton, who also fell off pretty quickly, who never reached the heights of having that staff. Like
it started with Dayball.
Dayball brought in Dorsey and those guys that had success with Cam in Carolina.
It gets back to what I was saying. Jayden Daniels, by the way, has led the league in not getting hurt, dating back to a very, very long college career. A long college career like you're never, ever going to see again from a prominent NFL quarterback. He knows how to stay healthy. It is a skill.
Why are you never going to see it again?
So ridiculous.
I mean, he had 55 starts. When is that ever going to happen?
That's
Troy
never
Aikman
gonna
was
happen
talking
again.
about that last night.
I had
The end of an era.
I had a long conversation. It's going to be a look at me, Louie, with a dude that led his team in the NFL's scout on Jayden Daniels. So like a total eval, like talking to family members, poured over every single snap. And come draft time, he said that Jayden Daniels was the best player in this draft, which I found shocking because I'm like, mobile Heisman winner, always like relying on the mobility. Can he throw? We still have questions. He said, no, certifiably best guy in the draft. And we were talking last night as he was starting to pop off, like, isn't this guy going to get hurt? And he's like, it's impossible. Impossible to predict that. All you can go off of is what someone has done in their career. He's always played the same kind of way, and he's always been kind of healthy, and he's a lot bigger than people think.
Okay, I'm not sure what that one means because both you and Stugotz have said it, and you gave me a listing of 210 pounds. When you talk about this stuff in this sport, and this part is, to me, Greg, why it is, if Josh Allen can somehow figure out the turnover thing, he represents the future of the position. When the hell are you worried about anybody other than defenders getting hurt when Josh Allen is running around in your secondary? He inverts the pyramid on, you're not worried. People are not sitting around worried that he's going to get hurt because of his style of play, which is wildly physically reckless.
I think what I'm doing is kind of like what you're doing. I've been doing this for years with Josh Allen. Like, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. And now I think I'm just wrong across the board because he's just been so good.
It's because he's gotten lucky, though.
Well, he's been
the fact
healthy.
that you guys are attributing this to an ability and not just being fortunate.
It's
that's
not lucky. It's his size.
What are you?
Dude, he unnecessarily decides to punish people, and he's gotten away with it.
Chris, he is bigger than the people who are trying to tackle him.
I believe that Josh Allen can be more durable than a really thin quarterback. That's obviously just physical stuff. But for you to say that Jayden Daniels has this skill of not getting, he's gotten very fortunate.
It's very determined a skill that he's
What a
learned
ridiculous
over the
thing
years.
to
Luck
say.
is such a
learned.
huge part of this.
So
like,
huge.
RG3, his knee injury in Washington was because there was
It
a
was
low
unlucky,
snap
huh?
out
Yeah.
of the shotgun. It went behind him. He then twisted his knee in a bad turf and tore his ACL and LCL, and it ruined his career.
Slide.
And let's also
Slide,
not,
it was backwards.
guys, let's also not forget that Robert Griffin looked at a room of like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, and a bunch of other
Mike
coaches,
McDaniel.
LaFleur, and he's like, I know what to do here. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We're going to play this way.
Stugotz just made Josh Allen bigger than all the 340-pounders. One of the things that always happens on Tuesdays is that Billy and Greg Cody become soulmates, and together they do-si-do and have a great time making their music.
You
together.
tried to divide them earlier. I mean, not going to happen, Dan.
Well, they were here on different days, and what Billy said yesterday was what he said.
That was yesterday.
What did I say?
I was sent a clip of what Billy said yesterday, if you'd like to play it.
Yes,
Well, I
thank
mean, we're
you.
seeing a picture of Will Levis as a horse right now, so what can we trust anymore?
Thank you. Please. Oh,
Well
so you're
played.
saying that this was distorted? You think that the video department, given all their fine work on the horse here, you think they distorted your voice to create audio that you're going to call fake news?
Possibly. I haven't heard it yet, but it's possible.
I've never seen Taylor as happy as he was on Greg Cody's boat when he.
Why the was Taylor on that boat? Okay. What did I say?
Right.
How is that a shot
Well,
at
what
Greg?
came after that? I need the audio of what came after that.
Let's buy more time for them to fabricate things, I guess.
I mean, that was a pretty dismissive, like, why was he on that boat?
That wasn't a shot at Greg.
That's taking a shot at the guest list.
shot at Taylor.
No, falsehoods. If anything, that's a credit to Greg for being such a kind-hearted human being and so welcoming to invite a peon like Taylor onto that boat, you know?
Well, what I was saying about their kinship is I believe that they're aligned today on how it is that they feel about the Dolphins. And I'm getting, Stugotz, and this happens, man. Mike lived it. Mike lived it when the Browns all of a sudden had expectations and then everyone started laughing at them. I feel a hostility 3 games in off of Billy and Greg that's mad at the Dolphins because, damn you, you made me believe. You made me think that this was built right. And now, during the break, Greg Cody actually said out loud, the Dolphins only have themselves to blame.
That's true. That's a great point by Greg.
100%.
Yeah.
For the quarterback calamity they're in right now, okay? You have in Tua Tagovailoa the most fragile starting quarterback in the NFL because of his propensity to concussions.
He does not have the ability to avoid injury. All the
does
other
not,
quarterbacks
right.
have that. He does not.
No, that's not true.
Not all of them.
He had the ability in the play 2 games ago that got him concussed again. He ran head-on into DeMar Hamlin when he could have slid or gone in the fetal position
So
before
last
the
year,
contact.
he had the ability and then lost the ability during that play.
He had the ability 2 games ago and didn't use it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So he had
You
the
guys
ability.
are being ridiculous.
He gained
with
the
this,
ability.
by the way.
He gained the ability, which would speak to the point. It is an ability.
He had the
You
ability.
can acquire it.
when
You
he-
can
when-
learn how
when
to
he-
do
when
it.
he le-
Forget.
When he left the pocket, he had the ability, but then he forgot it when that
Right.
ghost in the secondary for the Bills hit him.
He did lose some weight this offseason.
Yeah.
You guys are acting like there's measures that can't be taken to mitigate the chance of an injury. Like,
course.
obviously, football is a very dangerous game, and you can get injured one play to the next. But there are ways of playing to mitigate the risks so that you don't put yourself in harm's way to get injured as much.
But there are times where that ability means nothing.
Correct, but
We
you guys
agree.
are acting as though there's nothing that can
you
be
guys-
done
alright, so
to prevent
we're on the
injury
extremes
ever.
here. You guys are the ones saying that there's this inherent skill that he has.
We're not saying if you have the
No.
skill,
It's a
you can't
random
get hurt.
sport.
We're
No.
not saying you
No.
can't get hurt.
You can absolutely get hurt.
We're not saying like we're
No,
we're
Dan
not
is playing this game where he's
Right.
egging you on. You don't seem to understand that you can
Right.
avoid injury potentially. Like, there's things that you can do to not put yourself in harm's
Yes.
way. You can still get injured on any given play,
100%.
but there's plays that you put yourself more at risk to getting injured than others.
Thank you, Billy. Dan's the one who said Matthew Stafford was made out of wicker. Listen, when I say that the Dolphins have themselves to blame, I mean that you have a quarterback who you know is fragile. So who's your backup? You got to have a big backup, right? You got to have a veteran backup who could, an Andy Dalton who can go right in there and
Thank
you
you.
feel good.
Yep. Should be a starter.
What do they have?
Yeah.
They don't have that. They could have had Andy Dalton.
Right.
They could have had Jimmy Garoppolo.
Joe Flacco.
They could have traded for Justin Fields for
Russell
a
Wilson.
low
Yeah.
draft pick.
Right.
They did none of that.
And now they can't. Fields is a starter there for the foreseeable future.
Correct.
I mean,
I don't know why we're being negative about the Dolphins because they had the best loss of any team in the state of Florida.
nice.
As bad as it was on Sunday, the Bucks got blown out by the Broncos and the Jaguars looked like the worst team in the world with their starting quarterback. Now, Snoop Huntley, a Pro Bowl quarterback, maybe coming into the fold. You should be positive you're a Dolphins
Good
fan.
loss.
Pro Bowl
Good loss.
quarterback. Good
Yeah.
loss.
Greg Cody
Hilarious.
is saying the Dolphins have only themselves to blame. And on God Bless Football and elsewhere, Billy has been trying to get off the ground the hot air balloon of Sunday was a great day for Tua.
It was a good day for Tua. I mean, okay. Everyone seems to be in an argumentative spirit today. Are we going to argue that Sunday was a bad day for Tua?
He probably had a headache.
He should not have flown to Seattle, and I don't understand why that decision was made.
Long trip.
I get the whole let's be a supportive teammate thing, but someone has to be like, Tua, dude, like, honestly, just take a week off and go, like, spend time with your family, spend time in a dark room, spend time coloring, whatever you want to do. Just don't do this.
Coloring? I think that was like a subtle way to send the message, like, quit it with the retirement talk. Like, leave me alone. I'm hopping on this plane. I'm going to be around this team. You can't interview me after the game, but this is a subtle way to, like, put some of that talk down.
I agree that the Dolphin quarterback calamity has made Tua look good because if and there are a lot of Dolphin fans out there who think he's overrated, who think he's should not have gotten the big contract he got, and now those same fans have to reconsider. They have to recalibrate their thought because Tua is so and another prevailing thought with Dolphin fans is in Mike McDaniel's offense, anybody can go in there. They got Tyreek Hill, they got Waddle, they got a good running game. Anybody can go in there and put up big numbers. No, they can't because they don't have another quarterback who's nearly as good as Tua.
I brought this up yesterday, and I need the help from the group on this. Can you guys explain to me how you've arrived at Skylar Thompson is what he was against Seattle, but isn't what he was in a road playoff game against Buffalo? I just want to know where your takes are on this because when they went to Buffalo and faced this Josh Allen and lost whatever it was 38-35, it was some game in the 30s. You guys were very impressed with you guys were making the opposite argument on when Mike McDaniel travels with a quarterback, he can do it with anybody. And as I recall, that was a hugely injured Dolphin team. It wasn't just Tua that was injured.
Yeah, but I believe Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Armstead played that game. That offensive line, when they had those three, was good a couple years ago. And I think to the point I made yesterday of why are backup quarterbacks good in San Francisco but not here, the offensive line, like Armstead went out, Austin Jackson went out in the last game. Like, there are just huge offensive line questions still for this Dolphins team.
I also don't think anyone was celebrating Skylar Thompson's performance after that game. He had a 44 quarterback rating, or his rating was 44, QBR of 23.3. He had 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown. He was 18 of 45. He was bad. And like, we learned that day he's not good enough.
And the point is, even if he had a great game, it's such a small sample size with him. He's unproven. He's untested. My whole point about the backup quarterback to Tua has to be a veteran who's been around, who's started dozens of games, who you can rely on, who you know is not going to hurt you.
You know what's funny to me is of all the complaints about Skylar Thompson and how bad he's been is no one wants to discuss like how Tua has played worse than him.
The thing that I thought was interesting about what Chris Cody just said is that in that Buffalo game, Tua lost his health and his capacity to play quarterback well as soon as the left side of his line went away. And what we're saying about the assessments on yesterday don't have anything to do with the offensive line. Like none of the analysis, the Dolphins have only themselves to blame that the left side of their offensive line has physically gotten hurt because those two guys don't have the ability that you say that Jayden Daniels has to keep from being injured in that sport.
No, but when is the NFL and coaches and GMs going to realize, hey, having a backup quarterback is really important? I understand what you're saying about the offensive line, and it was a good point. But when are they going to realize? This is the same thing that happened to the Jets, and Greg is right and Billy is right. If you have a quarterback and your chief concern with that quarterback is his health, you better have a good backup.
Stu,
you better have a backup that's not Skylar Thompson.
Stu, they do, but when you decide to sign Tua to the kind of deal that you do, you have to make business decisions. It's a cap sport. Everyone has this. We had this discussion about why don't they dress a third quarterback for emergencies? It's available to them. They decide to try to win in the margins and play likelihoods. They decided to dedicate a large piece of their cap to the starter and then not have that insurance policy.
Mahomes gets paid a bunch, and they have Carson
Less
Wentz.
than Tua.
Yeah, they have Carson Wentz.
Well, that's
I'm agreeing
Right.
with you guys. Like,
Yes.
backup quarterbacks aren't that expensive.
No.
Like, you can find money for.
You could have had
Mitch
Sam
Trubisky.
Darnold for $10 million this year.
Yeah.
They lost the best player in the NFL according to the players. Okay? They had to make tough decisions. Yeah, they got Carson Wentz. because they decided to let Tyreek Hill go because they're paying a guy that can win Super Bowls independent of losing the best player in the NFL.
But that's also why, it's fair to question management. If they decided Tua was going to be their guy, why didn't they sign him earlier in the offseason? And you could have gotten him for $2-3 million less a season had you just signed him before Trevor Lawrence, and then you could have used that money on a backup quarterback. The fact that they waited so long is why they had to pay him so much, because the price of quarterbacks just kept going up. And then if it's a situation with a cap, you guys put yourselves in that position.
I know that we love to do this, okay, because we are all financial analysts on the salary cap in a way that is funny to me. But I just
$4 million for Andy Dalton.
Thank you,
Cheap.
Stugotz.
Dirt
I
cheap.
just saw Jerry Jones,
Yeah.
famous wealthy person,
Yeah.
come out and say that they couldn't afford Derrick Henry. And I don't know that anyone thought that that was a dumb thing to hear, but the way the rules are implemented in a violent sport where the NFL, of all things, makes the teams be cheap at places that make it so that the product on Sunday is going to have 17 backup quarterbacks by week 6. Like the product is going to go to because no one can stay healthy because the defensive linemen are 350 pounds.
You could have had Russell Wilson for nothing. I mean, Denver's paying the tab on that.
Justin Fields for a 6th-round draft pick. Nah, we don't want him.
They also could have signed Dak earlier.
They could have just
and then they could have gotten Derrick Henry also. Why did they wait so long to sign Dak and then give him $60 million a year?
We're a week removed from thinking Derrick Henry was washed and asking aloud, well, Baltimore must know something if they're not giving him snaps.
All right, you know what? We need to regather ourselves. Everyone's arguing.
I
it's
love
week.
this.
It's
Classic
week 3.
sports radio.
We need to
This is
pace
great.
ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to pace ourselves. It's going crazy here. I'm not comfortable with what's happening here. The argument has been made by these two bozos that people in the NFL know exactly how to keep them being injured.
Yeah.
While Greg can't stop coughing.
By the way, Greg's Lobos didn't think Derrick Henry was washed.
Oh.
The Lobos drafted Derrick Henry onto
Tell
a
'em.
fantasy team.
Lobos!
He's doing great. On another of my fantasy teams, I drafted Saquon Barkley, and I heard Ghosts of Barkley references deriding the pick. How's Saquon Barkley doing in fantasy? Case closed.
Greg, I wish that you had given me that insight, because unfortunately this week in our God Bless Football Dan Le Batard Show listener league presented by Smirnoff. By the way, you were asking me earlier, how can you join? You can join GBF's weekly contest for a chance to compete against the cast, plus win cash prizes. DKNG.co/Smirnoff, presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. Had I known that, I would have drafted Derrick Henry, and I could have potentially had a repeat performance. Last week, I finished in 5th place. Guess what place I finished in this week, Dan? 625th place. But that's the thing about this weekly league, Dan. One week to the next, it completely resets. So people could say, oh my gosh, Billy, you're in 5th place. You must be dominating now. And then you fall back 600 places. Your season must be over. No, friends. Every week, you start anew. And you can start anew and join me and Stugotz and maybe Greg and Mike and Chris and whoever else. You just go to the website, you join for free, $3 buy, and you win some real cash. Every week's a new week, one week to the next.
How many people in that league?
Well, last week there was over 600.
There can't be a lot of good free agents on the waiver wire in that league.
Well, no, I'm glad you asked.
Every
This is
week
the way
it's a
that it
new
works.
lineup.
You just have a sum of money, and then you pick your team. Everyone can have the same players or different
okay.
players.
Yeah.
It's incredible the way you put your lineup together.
What a great idea.
DKNG.co/Smirnoff.
Yeah, I have to look into that.
Didn't you say that daily fantasy was a cruel mistress?
It is. That's why it's a cruel mistress.
Yeah.
One week you're at the top of the world in 5th place, winning $125. The next week, 625th place. You think you know things, and then you quickly get brought back down to earth by that cruel mistress. Daily fantasy.
All right, let's do it.
You don't know anything.
Let's do it.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos. Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cody.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is daily fantasy a cruel mistress at Le Batard Show?
But the highs are high. But, brother, the lows are low.
Why did you just become Hulk Hogan?
You have to.
Greg's Lobos.
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
You guys started on Trevor Lawrence and blaming Trevor Lawrence, and I'm legitimately stunned to learn that Bengals-Commanders game is the first game since 1940 with no turnovers or punts. Since 1940.
Huh.
Crazy.
No turnovers.
Steve Martin said that earlier.
No punts. I still think it's crazy. I think it's nuts, the idea that we would go that long without a game that felt or looked like that, especially as defenses are going nuts all over the league. But, Chris, you and I, before we get to Dianna Russini, I believe that you and I have a unique access to knowing when your father is snorting enraged, snorting mad. And he is furious that he was not allowed to give his Lobos update. And look at him. He is seething right now.
I am also furious because Greg comes down here every Tuesday, and sometimes he comes down here multiple times per week, and he wants to give a Lobos update that I, for one, love, and I would like to hear about his team. I mean,
I believe that nobody cares about your fantasy team. I don't mean you personally. I mean the fantasy team of others.
I believe that everyone cares about Greg's, though. Also,
Yes.
and I don't want to betray any confidences, but there may have been conversations in the makeup room where Greg said, "You know what? I want to surprise Dan today with a back in my day, and I'm just going to spring it on him if he lets me get that Lobos update in." But now that you didn't,
Right.
it seems like it's too little too late on this one. Even if you let him do it now, I think he's going to hold out and not give you that back in my day.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
You don't have a back in my day.
well,
I did, but I
We'll
won't
never
do it
learn.
now.
you'll never know.
Yeah, well put, Stugotz.
He's enraged.
Well, listen, okay. The Lobos update is a thing or it isn't. It's a bit on the show or it isn't. Don't cue the music and have me get ready to do it, and 2 words in, give me the dumb hard network out. And this happened to be a week, by the way. Anybody who plays fantasy football can appreciate what I'm about to tell you.
Hold on. Give him the music because he's going to give the update whether we want it or not.
Give it.
He's going to give the update. He's
No,
trying
from
to,
the top.
Don't fall for it, Greg.
half-ass
Giving it.
Don't fall
You need it
for
from
It's going
the
to be
top.
very quick.
Chris is
Oh, you want the
peacock
whole
teasing
thing?
Yeah,
you
I want
again.
I want the pomp and the circumstance.
No, I'm just going to
Thank
give it
you,
to you
Mike.
quick. It's a 10
It is time now for a weekly update on
Wait for
our
it, wait for
favorite
it.
team,
Yeah.
Rex Lobos.
Okay.
Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cody.
You're good.
Okay, Greg's Lobos. Greg's
It is time
Lobos.
now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
Long intro.
Here is their head coach and president of
Right.
football operations, Greg Cody.
Okay. You might not care about
It
anybody
is
else.
time now for a weekly update on our
Jesus.
favorite team,
is screwed up,
Rex
man.
Lobos.
I don't like this.
I'm not,
Dad.
What's
Here
happening?
is their head
I'm not
coach and
taking part
president
in
of
this.
football operations,
like it.
Greg Cody.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Dianna Russini joins us. She's the senior NFL insider for
Wrong.
The Athletic. She's got a very
70 as bull.
smart
All right. Gonna
podcast.
walk out in a minute.
It's called Scoop City. You can check out new episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Go on. Just pretend like. In fact, you want me to walk out? I'll
No,
walk out.
I don't want you to walk
Okay.
out. I
Go
want
by
you to
You walk
show.
out, I walk out. I'm telling you right now.
Ridiculous.
Well, we've got Dianna. I
I know.
I could get good analysis from her on how players don't have the ability to stay
Okay.
not
Maybe I
injured
bet
in
she
that
feels
league.
differently.
Let's hear about Diana's fantasy team, huh? How'd you do this week?
He's enraged.
Diana's Lobos.
He's really mad. Do you believe anyone cares about the fantasy
question.
teams of others, Dianna?
It's like hearing about people's dreams. I don't care. Don't care about your dreams. I don't care about your fantasy team. But Greg, I do though, because I can tell that you have passion about your team. Can you give me one update, just one, and then we'll get going and talk real football?
Okay.
You want the open or?
Okay. Anybody who plays fantasy football.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team,
Okay.
Rex
no,
Lobos.
No, Greg, I did that for you.
We had to
Here is the
reset.
head
gonna do
coach
it
and
again.
president of football operations, Greg
He
Cody.
won't do it again.
If he does it
He will
again,
not.
I am walking out.
You've made
Greg,
that clear.
Greg, Diana asked.
You have made it clear. Diana asked, and we are supporting the Lobos update. It's not going to happen again.
Wait, is
Okay.
there an intro?
No, don't do that, Dianna.
Dianna.
You need
Wait,
to
turn on the original audio. Diana missed it.
no,
We've already heard the intro nine times.
Don't do it. We will lose him.
Audio.
Guys, I just hopped on. I didn't hear it.
All right,
We
hold
will-
on a
You
second.
guys should
don't do it
have like
again.
a.
It's an
You guys should
original
have a
audio
drop,
thing.
like a
Chris, don't do
like a
it again.
sound thing to like introduce it so we know what it is.
That's a good idea, Dan.
Chris,
Get it
don't
sponsored.
do it again. Please, please.
The Lobos are not just any other.
No!
Time now for a weekly update on our
She didn't
favorite
hear it.
team,
She didn't hear.
Rex
I walk
Lobos.
out with him.
Here is their head coach and
You're not
president
going
of
to get him
football
back.
operations.
I
Greg
promised him
Cody.
you weren't going to do that. No. He just shouted on his way out of the room. Matthew Stafford is made of wicker.
I don't like that.
I didn't like it either. That was wrong.
I don't like this.
Elder abuse.
Diana
This is
asked
bad.
for the open.
This is the worst thing you've done. Yeah. This is bad. You need to apologize.
You should
I'm not
apologize.
doing bit. This is bad.
I didn't think that was right. I wouldn't have done that last one. I wouldn't have
I'm
done
sorry.
that last
Just
one.
but back in my day, you would never do that. Like you would never be disrespectful to somebody on the show who's just trying to share what they care about. But things are different. I feel bad. Like I'm sorry I asked for the open. I just was thinking they should make this like a thing, like a segment
To honor
where we
Greg.
check. Yeah.
To celebrate his fantasy team, even though you don't care about anyone else's, his is the one we care about. Evidently, he had a record-breaking week in fantasy. This is supposed to mean something to us. He had 222 points. He had 4 people go over some crazy point total. So
Yeah.
I guess it's a lot of points, and he wanted everyone to know it.
Did he play Saquon?
We may never know now.
He could have played any number of people who were. Would you have liked? How would you have liked to have had on that team just Goddard? Just Goddard on Sunday, a tight end. All of a sudden, they have no one else to throw to in Philadelphia, and because 3 Saints are running into each other, Goddard is showing you that he's a whole lot faster than anyone thought Frankenstein should be.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles offense right now is slightly confusing to me. I think Saquon Barkley was obviously the hero and saved the day in general for this offense. But look, Nick Sirianni says he is going to be tinkering and weighing in on some of the play calls now. So I thought that was a really interesting sort of addition to what this Eagles team is doing, which was kind of allowing Sirianni to just be the CEO and oversee it and not really get involved in all this decision-making stuff on the field. But now he's going to be part of it. So I am genuinely very curious to see how this works, because the problem last year, from what I was told, was that it was Nick's call on everything. Like that was Nick, what you saw out there on the field. And then they sort of took that away from him a bit here, promoted him, gave him a bigger role in a way, and now he's going to go back to having some influence on this with Kellen Moore. So I don't know if it's a good thing. I know Nick is a great offensive coordinator. I like to believe this, but we'll see how his contributions mix with Kellen Moore now, what that's going to look like for Philly that is hanging on.
If you had to assign most interesting thing to the things that happened last night, because these guys both voted on blaming Trevor Lawrence, what would you say was the most interesting thing from last night if you can only pick one thing?
From both games, I'll go to the other game with the Bengals and Washington. I think for me, just watching Jayden be as good as he was last night, and to watch somebody's coming out party, to just see it and sort of even just the shot of his dad, like, wow, we are watching something. Dan, you know this. I covered Washington sports for a while. I was a local sports anchor there. And I arrived the year after Robert Griffin III. So I missed that electric year. And I would just spend so much of my time during training camp that following season hearing stories from all the old then Redskins talking about what it was like that year before. And I just remember thinking I missed it. Like I missed what it was like to live in that city when people were all in on this team. And to see it look the same way last night, to have that feel like, ooh, the last time I remember Washington being this electric, and just even based on the people reaching out to me today in the Washington area is tremendous. So the reason why I bring him up because I remember during the draft process, and we've talked about this before, and I think there's been a lot of insiders and people that cover the league, they've brought this up, that a lot of people thought Caleb Williams was number one. That is without a doubt. We're not going to rewrite history. But I definitely spoke to some head coaches who thought Jayden was better. And I remember reporting it and feeling a little uncomfortable with it. The coaches that told me are fantastic, by the way. They're very good coaches, and they're head coaches. But I remember in the moment thinking, this is like against the grain. Everyone is saying Caleb's the guy. Maybe these coaches don't really know. But now we're seeing where, look, I still think Caleb Williams is going to be really good. I think two things can be true. I think Jayden can be really good and is arriving sooner with just a better team around him at this moment with a better offensive coordinator. And Caleb may just need a little bit more time. So I definitely thought of those conversations though last night, watching Jayden, knowing how many people in the league had their eyes on him on draft night, hoping to get up to try to see if Washington would do a deal. And they obviously were not going to do that, especially after Topgolf.
And for Washington to finally have like their guy at quarterback, when you look at Terry McLaurin's career, this is his 6th season, and you look at the list of quarterbacks who've completed a pass to McLaurin before Jayden Daniels, it's Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell, Carson Wentz, Garrett Gilbert, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, Alex Smith, and Colt McCoy. Those are the guys they've had there over the last 5 years.
This has to be making Daniel Snyder crazy.
I care about your fantasy team.
You know,
I care
I was
about the Lobos.
thinking
What
about
they're
that.
doing is just straight wrong to you. It is wrong. So please, Greg, tell me. It's your birthday week. You come down here. You make the commitment. You make the time for us. I care about you. I care about your fantasy team. Tell me about the Lobos.
You always support me, Stugotz. I really appreciate you. Other than you didn't go to my birthday party, I really appreciate the support. The thing that got me so mad about this is that this is the one time when a Lobos update was actually called for. Okay, anybody who plays fantasy football knows what I'm talking about. It's a 10-team league, right? If you score 150 points, you've had a great game, great scoring game. I scored 222 points.
222 points?
It's like it's got to be a league record. I had 5 players with 30 points or more. 5 players, including both my running backs, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Who was the MVL?
The NBA, you know what? I had 5 players all with like 30 or 31 points. So I don't know who the it's a 5. I'm going to give out 5 trophies.
Thank you, camera people, for zoning in dangerously close to Stugotz's ass crack there. It's terribly unpleasant. You were saying, though,
That's
Dianna,
not an undershirt?
Why is he wearing a white shirt underneath a long sleeve shirt?
I'm
That's
sure
his skin color.
that's his skin there. That was his skin. That was not a shirt. He's now hidden it because he's afraid, and the love handles were protruding. Oh, look, get in there close. Yes, there it is. There's some hair.
All right, cut away.
Whoa! I cannot believe that's not a white T-shirt. That is the color of his skin. He lives in Florida. Why is his skin so white?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's usually hidden. Unfortunately, that was not hidden. But you were saying how Daniel Snyder must experience that they now clearly have a quarterback.
Yeah, I just knowing how badly he wanted to win and how many mistakes he made, and now you have new ownership coming in here, and it appears that they've got the right GM. They sorted out the head coaching thing despite not getting the guy they wanted, so that seems to be working. We're 3 weeks in here. Commanders fans are electrified by the fact that they now have a quarterback who looks like he's got potential to be the best quarterback they've had in decades. And look, I was going through Twitter and reading some stories this morning, and it definitely feels like just a surge of excitement because we saw so much from a rookie quarterback in just one game. When in week 1 or 2, I think we were questioning some of his decisions to run out of the pocket in some moments where he didn't need to. But the fact that he was able to sit in the pocket the way he did and make the throws, it just tells you that it's there. Washington just can't mess it up. Like, just don't mess this up. You've got the guy. You've got the guy probably for a long time. So as excited as I think Washington probably is, I don't care what you say. Those fans are have their fingers crossed behind their back hoping that this isn't the Washington of old, that this new regime, and it appears that they've got this thing on the right track, is going to be able to handle this and manage success. Because you always hear it's one thing to deal with the issues and the adversity, but it's another when you deal with success. We'll see how they do it.
Mike, there is not a greater structural flaw on the other end of the spectrum on this than the Cleveland Browns, correct? In the entire league, there is not a structural Achilles heel more problematic than the one Cleveland has at quarterback.
Here's a stat that'll blow your mind. The Cleveland Browns' offensive success rate, weeks 1 through 3 this season, is the worst it's ever been since the Browns came back to the NFL. When you think of all the bad quarterbacks they've ever had, Deshaun Watson is all-time bad in that Browns offense. He is taking sacks instead of throwing to open receivers. That's what the tape is suggesting. He has receivers open, and he doesn't want to throw a pick, so he'll take a sack. Yes, there have been injuries along that offensive line. They also got some guys back. That offensive line isn't that bad that Deshaun Watson is getting that many sacks. This is an issue in which they seem completely stuck. Dianna, what are you hearing about the situation in Cleveland? And do they have the guts to make a move there and have this guaranteed contract right in the pine?
Yeah, a couple things. Let's just start with what we know already, which is we've seen Kevin Stefanski deal with issues. We've seen him deal with issues at quarterback and problems and injuries last year, right? And he has an incredible way of rallying his guys. He has a different personality, as you guys have all seen on the sidelines, and you've heard him in post-game locker room settings. He's not this over the top, fiery kind of Sean McVay, Dan Campbell types, which are awesome, right? And those work. Kevin Stefanski's pretty even keeled, but those type of personalities work really well in these scenarios where they are struggling. They are well aware that they've got major issues. And look, we could probably go back and forth, Mike, on the O-line and are they really that bad? Is it on Deshaun? It's everybody. Everybody stinks right now in Cleveland. And they know that. And they're going to try to make attempts to fix the problems that they have in front of them. Now, the next question that everyone asks is, all right, Jameis Winston's right there. Like, just do it. Maybe it could give the team some life. Maybe he could be the Andy Dalton of Cleveland. I can't believe I just said that, but you know what I mean? Like maybe it could give them a spark. And look, I think those scenarios work sometimes for one game, maybe even a quarter. But from what I know, I don't believe Jameis Winston for now is the answer for the Cleveland Browns. They still believe that Deshaun Watson gives them the best potential, and they just need to sort out what it is and find a little bit more hunger in them, because that's just been my observation. This isn't from talking to people in that building about what's the demeanor. They don't look that engaged. So I want to see if there's going to be a change there. And in terms of the Deshaun Watson future, I don't think we can answer right now. All I can tell you is they're very committed to sticking with Deshaun Watson. So we'll see if that changes, come the holidays.
That seems crazy, though, because we've got enough of a sample. He's been bad the entire time he's been back.
I live in Florida, but my ass lives in my jeans, except when I sit on this couch. They somehow, the geniuses in there, think talking about the Cleveland Browns is more exciting than talking about a team that had 222 points in fantasy, your Lobos, with 5 guys over 30. I want to pick the MVL, if you don't mind.
Please, I'd be honored. Who do you like? You got so many to choose from.
Well, give me some choices here.
Okay, my 5 30-point scorers were Dak Prescott, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Karen Williams. That's 3 running backs who topped 30 points. Wow. And the 5th one I can't think of.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it to the 5th one that you can't think of. He is the MVL.
Travis Kelce, what's wrong with him, Dianna?
He's old. He's also not the type of player that the Kansas City Chiefs feel that they need to rely on right now. I mean, we've kind of seen glimpses of this in years past where Travis isn't great out of the gate, even last year, this time of year. I remember when he was in New York playing against the Jets, and he was not great.
McShay says he's out of shape, Dianna. I mean, and there's no way keeping the schedule that he's keeping that you can actually be in the gym the way you need to be.
So, Dan, it's a great question, because I asked people in that building that this summer, and even I had to do a piece about what this Kansas City Chiefs offseason was like, because they obviously dealt with a lot of different conflict and they had to make decisions, and also just managing this Taylor thing and managing Travis, right? He's going to all of her concerts. And I think we think of a lot of these athletes that put it in your face, their training, who post about it all the time as, well, those are the guys that are locked in, right? Tom Brady, he's the one who takes care of himself, because we've seen the documentaries, because we've seen the clips of him. People around Travis tell me he's meticulous. Like, he's just as much of a lunatic about taking care of his body. Even just, I remember opening week, they were playing on that Thursday night game. I was talking to somebody in that building. It was that Tuesday, right? So that's like a typical, tough practice for the Chiefs when they're playing on a Thursday night to open up the week. And this person I was on the phone with was leaving the facility, and it was pretty late. And Travis Kelce was there working with bands, like just doing extra workouts, the week of the game. And I know you hear these stories all the time, first one in, last one out. And, but there's something to that. When you're that good of a player, you've won as much as he has. He's on top of the world. If I'm him, I'm going home and just FaceTiming with my amazing girlfriend. I'm not sitting there working on my bands. But he was doing that. So look, it's just a long way of me saying that I think from the outside, it seems he's really busy doing other things, but the people there tell me he's all in on football. Like, they don't have these kind of concerns with his schedule.
I legitimately thought when you said working with bands that he was doing backup dancing with some bands.
Like
that
bands.
That there was music involved. That's what his offseason has been like. The Vikings, they're 3-0, and you put their 3-0 against anybody's
again, Washington, they win, and there's a big buzz in the city afterwards. There's a buzz in Washington after they win. You want to talk about a buzz? I mean, check out New York City after a Knicks win. Check out the Bronx after a Knicks win. Check out Yonkers after a big Knicks win. Check out Staten Island.
Feel free to do the
Knicks
fantasy bit we worked on.
Well, listen, I am surprised that you took Dak Prescott. When did you get him? Why'd you take him? I am surprised. That is a risky pick.
Yeah, I got him late. It was like mid-rounds, I think. And, he's an older player. A lot of people worried about his body, his health. I heard some analysts say he's made a wicker. But, he's just been great for us. And, 5 players with 30 or more points. The Lobos
Dianna, who's the most impressive 3-0?
The Buffalo Bills. And I'm saying that because I did not think that they would come out this hot. I had concerns after that Stephon Diggs trade, knowing just what those receivers look like. They're just, look, we always believe that the Bills are going to be great. And I feel like this is the first season where everyone talking about this team had more realistic expectations in years past. Instead of anointing them as Super Bowl champs in August, I think everyone kind of realized, looking at this roster, they've made changes. Maybe they're going to go through a little bit of an overhaul here. We may just have to get through a tough season here. And here they come with the quarterback that everyone called overrated on some other sports networks. And Josh actually came on our podcast Scoop City to talk about that. He deals with it well. He loves it. I think he gets off on just this idea of being doubted. I think at the level he's playing at right now, it shows he's having fun, no pressure, and just the fact that he's taking care of the football. The thing that crushes Josh Allen, the thing that one little thing we always have to highlight about him because we want to believe he's the best. We're like, sometimes his biggest weakness is also his biggest strength. And right now, all we're seeing is strength. And to me, that is the most impressive part of the in the league is just what Josh Allen has been able to do. I would put Sam Darnold in the Vikings right after that, though. Very close.
She's the senior NFL insider for The Athletic. She's got a great podcast called Scoop City, new episodes Tuesdays and Fridays. I wanted to ask you what the reaction was because you became an internet storm last week when you were on with us, and you deigned to have opinions about your career and your husband, the Eagles fan's career. And I marvel at your strength all the time in trying to do this lunatic job while having kids. It doesn't seem like a reasonable sort of sanity. But the storm that came your way, you handled that how?
So I think the good news from those that missed it, I weighed in on just the Philadelphia fandom, which I think a lot of people can relate to if you live with somebody that is a lunatic about a certain fan or about a certain team. But I think the part of the story that I forgot to explain to you, Dan, is that I didn't grow up a big football fan. Like that wasn't my house. My family cares about like meatballs and plumbing. Like that's what I grew up around. It was maybe fishing, like that's what the boys in my life do. So I didn't sit around every Sunday waiting for kickoff. I'm not a season ticket holder. I love sports. I just don't know what that world is. I am now married to that. So it's been an adjustment period.
You're married to Stugotz. You're married to Stugotz back when like the Stugotz of caring about sports the way a 20-year-old Stugotz would. No indictment on your husband. I wouldn't say that he's Stugotz. I'm saying the caveman passion of believing in your team in a way that grabs his identity from his team.
Yeah, and look, I discovered after taking the week to think about it all, the things I probably, the reasons I'm probably in love with my husband are probably the same things that I can't stand about him when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what it is? Maybe I want the attention. Maybe that's what it is. We're so busy with these kids. I want him to show that passion that he has for the Eagles. Somehow I've become the victim.
That's good, though. Situation. That's good. I do believe that. I believe there are many wives and husbands out there that wish that their wives and husbands cared about them the way they care about their teams.
Dan, the kiss and hug my husband gave me on Sunday after the Eagles pulled that game off. I was in the other room watching the games that I wanted to watch. He came running in there, and you would have thought, what happened? I mean, I obviously knew at that point that the Eagles won, but just again, it goes back to what we talked about. It changes the energy in my house, and for the good of it and the bad of it, I don't like it. It's because it's not consistent, and I don't want to live. My life is hard enough. I can't live on this roller coaster of someone's fandom. But Eagles fans really took this to heart. Like Philadelphia, I may never be allowed at the link. Like I have to go down there this weekend to see friends and family. I'm worried because people were so offended that I called Philly out for being intense. But maybe it was just a really roundabout way of me saying I'm a little jealous.
Dianna, nice seeing you. Always good catching up with you. See you next week.
Can't wait.
Does the Amish community watch the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz?
They don't really have much electricity over there, so no, probably not. No.
Hey, Dan, it's me, Lucy, and I'm here in Norman, Oklahoma. And something that I've learned is that Oklahoma does a lot of cheers where they go, oh, you. But they don't have any where they go, O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A. And I think they should add one of those. Hey, Dan. Hey, it's me, Lucy. It is 8 million degrees out here. Do you miss the Big 12 at all?
Not at all.
Not even Oklahoma State, you don't miss them?
The girls, I do.
I'm sweating something.
And I've been to Oklahoma. Tennessee.
It's not the real UT.
Well, then the real UT. How do you guys feel about Texas?
Oh, I love. That's it.
How hot is it today?
98 degrees in the shade.
Boomer sooner. Mr. OU, can you take me through your outfit today?
Oh, well, I got to look the best in SEC, so me and a couple of fans got together and we decided to put an outfit together. That's the outfit.
How do you guys feel about Tennessee?
No.
Texas?
No. No.
Rocky Top?
I like it, but no.
Dan Le Batard?
Who's that?
Exactly. Who is that? I don't know. Hope to never know. The sun is beating down relentlessly, and they keep shooting guns. So everything's really going awesome. I love the SEC. It just means more. Who tailgates better, the SEC or the Big 12?
There's no question the SEC.
It's the greatest conference in the country.
I'm very nervous on what we're going to do.
I'm a little nervous for it. SEC is it's a tough conference.
We've always belonged in the SEC. We're going to fit in great. We're going to win today.
They probably should have done this a little sooner. Dan, we keep trying to find people to interview, and it's weird. Every time we try to find people to interview, our GPS just keeps taking us to the ice cream place. I don't even know how that keeps happening. That's probably where the people are, so we should probably go get the ice cream, I believe, maybe. When I'm on the road. That's Patrick's line in SpongeBob. When I'm on the road. Patrick goes, huh, huh. Lane Kiffin.
He's terrible. I hate him. I hope he goes to Florida so I can hate Florida even more than I already do.
His name is Lame Kitten, and I don't like Lame Kitten.
Would you throw a golf ball at him?
Absolutely not. If I hit my 9-iron, it would have been in his face, no doubt.
We're not saying you should hit Lane Kiffin.
No, never.
Do you miss the Big 12 at all?
Not at all.
Can you think of one thing you might miss?
Winning Big 12 championships, I don't know.
When I'm on the road, we're going to get ice cream. What is the most Amish thing about this tailgate?
The most Amish thing. Amish love to party.
The Amish love to party.
Amish at one point.
We went all this way to get ice cream because everyone responded to my Instagram story and said, Lucy, get a Sooner Swirl. It's so great. I just assumed Sooner Swirl meant like ice cream swirl. There's a lot more than chocolate and vanilla in this, I'll tell you that. Genuinely an accident. But look, didn't even have a sip. I had one sip. 2. That's it. So if there's one thing we've established here is that the home team hates to see me coming. Sure, I'm 0-4, but so is College Game Day. Okay, and I don't hear anybody talking about the game day curse, but everybody's worried about the Lucy curse. Get over yourself and go get a Powerade. It takes more. Anything else you guys want to say to the Dan Le Batard Show?
Tennessee. The balls. I do tune in, and I love it.
Hell yeah, I don't believe that you watch the Le Batard Show all the time.
I do.
What's my name?
Aubrey.
No.
Boomer!
Boomer Sooner!
Boomer! Sooner!
Boomer Sooner. Boom soon, Dan.
We came, and we boomered that Sooner.
Lame Kitten. Lame Kitten. That guy was as drunk early in the morning. That was actually early afternoon, right? He was that drunk.
Lucy, you can maybe answer this question. As soon as I saw that dude for the second time and I saw him breathing out of his mouth and he was rocking in his chair a little bit, that has to be the drunkest person you've interviewed yet.
Here's my take. I actually don't think anyone was that drunk. It was 100 degrees out, not including the feels like. So I think everyone was just like drunk off like heat exhaustion. So it made everyone so much worse. Like I felt delusional the entire day.
I get it. That's nice. You don't want to throw him under the bus. That dude, maybe nobody else, but that dude. Dude was drunk.
Let's see if we can prove it. Let's play that again.
It would have been in his face, no doubt.
We're not saying you should hit Lane Kiffin.
No, never.
Do you miss
That's
the
not the heat. Lucy, that is not the heat.
Never. So Bob's Lane Kitten.
That's the fireball. Unless there's a drink, a cocktail that they make there called the heat. As it relates to the strength of the team, though, Lucy, have you seen a lot more impressive than Tennessee?
No, I mean, Tennessee is
I think what's so remarkable about Tennessee is the things that they're normally not good at. They're very, very good at this year. Their defense looks phenomenal. And I do understand that Oklahoma has like somewhat of an anemic offense right now, and it's probably not the best comparison because their offense is so bad. But they're running the ball really well. They've got a great defense. Like, obviously the passing game is still there. They just seem to be one of the most well-rounded, just like complete teams in college football right now. It feels like they're almost already a lock for the playoff at this point.
Lucy, your father's basement has the vibes of Greg Cody's party. It has,
probably Greg's basement.
There seems to be some stuff in there that feels musty and wooden and from another time.
Yeah, it's musty. It's musty down here. It's also like raining, so it always makes it like more musty. But I feel safe here, you know.
Understood. Unlike how you felt in Miami, Mike Ryan is ready to make an announcement, by the way. I couldn't believe it when he came in here today and made the announcement that he is circling a Saturday on the calendar.
Wow.
3 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now, what are the games that we have on the calendar?
Third weekend in October.
Oh, my God.
We've got UGA at Texas, Bama at Tennessee, Miami at Louisville, Michigan at Illinois, Notre Dame at Georgia Tech, LSU at Arkansas, OK State at BYU, South Carolina at Oklahoma. This might be the most loaded college football weekend ever, and it's one of the byproducts of conference expansion. Lucy, are you going to clone yourself? Where the hell are you going to go that week?
Well, so this week's the 19th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 12th is almost just as good. It's Oregon at Ohio State at Oregon, Penn State at USC. Like there's like a 2-3 week span in October where every weekend is just absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where we're going to go that week. Bad news, a couple of the places have already said no, but don't worry, there are so many options, so we'll figure it out.
Michigan wins with 32 passing yards over USC. I believe that's bad for everybody who cares about sports.
That's Big Ten football, Dano.
That's literally what Michigan should have been doing from the jump. That's perfect. You just have to do what you do well. And Michigan runs the ball really well, and they cannot throw the ball at all. Like, I don't know if you've seen Davis Warren, Alex Orji. They have looked not great this season. Just do what you do best. Run the ball. I'm so excited that Michigan just figured it out. And guess what? It was very obvious to know what they were going to do. They were just going to run the ball and have an elite defense, and Lincoln Riley still was like, I don't know what's going on here.
Dan, keep your crusade of saving football to the pros. Yeah. I like it that Michigan has a style to win a football game. I like that Army might actually make the college football playoff.
That's
Styles make fights. Stop trying to fix college football because it's shown you so far, very early in the proceedings, that it is perfect.
Yeah. You cannot have fewer than 100 passing yards the way Iowa and Michigan combined for fewer than 100.
Stop the run and make them pass, Dan.
Big Ten football.
Exactly right.
2-0.
Peter Welch knew.
And God help Oklahoma in the SEC. Like, God, just forget about that. Like, that's not going to work out. Oklahoma is not going to be good anytime soon.
Yeah, mark it.
No, their offense, like, their defense is really, really good. Their offense needs, like, a lot of serious work. I think benching Jackson Arnold was probably the best thing the Sooners could have done in that game, and they should probably go forward with that freshman. But, like, just sitting there and watching back-to-back Oklahoma gets fumbles, gets great field position, and then immediately fumbles it back the next play, I was like, oh, buddy, this is going to be a long year. It's going to be a long year for the Sooners.
Whatever the issues are with offense, I imagine Brent Venables will address it calmly and professionally.
You can only pick 5 teams that you believe to be the best 5 teams in the country. Does Miami crack your top 5?
No, not because I don't think Miami's very, very good. I think they are. I just think there are, like, unbelievably good teams this year, and like half of them are in the SEC. Like, you'd have to go Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. Bam.
That's weird. Alabama played USF, but it's okay. We're back to work.
Oh, what just happened there?
Well, the USF coach was asked the question, who's better, Alabama or Miami?
Right.
And he tried to be political with his answer, but he said, like, Miami's got more depth at each position than Alabama. But we're back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And a better quarterback.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Cam Ward, Lucy? Because he has jumped to the top of the Heisman lists.
I mean, he's an elite quarterback. He's been this way well before Washington State when he was at Incarnate Word, which I never know how to say that. I think I said it right. Like, I remember hearing his name in the transfer portal, just jumping up to the Washington State level. Like, he just is so dynamic and can be an entire team's offense. And it has been like, Miami has made a lot of changes, and they did a lot of work in the transfer portal, but I think Cam Ward is kind of like the proof that sometimes all you do need is just like a really, really good quarterback, and it can pretty much fix everything.
Lucy, I feel like Alabama is better. You can't, you weren't able to say this the last couple of years, but I do feel like Alabama this year is a better team, better roster, more talented team than Georgia. What are your thoughts?
I won't say they're more talented than Georgia, because Georgia and Alabama are both ridiculously talented teams. It's kind of hard to differentiate the two. Like, they're probably the two most talented teams in the country, minus Ohio State. So this weekend we'll be able to kind of see they're playing each other. It's hard for me to say that one is more talented than the other, because at that point, like, everybody's a 5-star.
Lucy, good seeing you. Go back to the must in your father's basement. I'm sorry that the rain is making it extra musty. It is nice seeing you again. It's nice seeing you so happy. We look forward to future reports.
We didn't get to ask her about the biggest game of the weekend, UCF at Colorado.
Yeah, that's too bad that we didn't have time for that.
We didn't want to talk about that?
Lucy, thank
Big
you.
noon
Good
kickoff?
talking to you. Nice to see you again.
Bye, Aubrey.
Bye, guys.
Greg Cody, I want to get your thoughts on something, because I'm fairly stunned that over the last couple of years in football, the surest thing that I can know is that Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce is not something that can be stopped by anybody. Over the last couple of years, Travis Kelce plays, and when he plays well. He is not hurt. He is not unhealthy. He is not ill-prepared. And if you target him 13 times, you're going to get 11 catches for 150 yards. Please explain to me what is happening with Travis Kelce being, production-wise, like the 40th best tight end in the league.
Right. Yeah. The last game, he had 4 catches for 30 yards, which was pretty good for him. I think it was better than his first 2 games. I think that he has spread himself too thin. I know Dianna Russini said that she's talked to the Chiefs, who say no, he's still fully committed. I don't know how you can be fully committed when you're globe-trotting to watch your girlfriend perform on stage. The other day, an ad for a new movie comes on, and Travis Kelce is in it. Travis Kelce is now has a part in a horror movie.
FX.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, are you a football player? What are you doing?
I'm with you, Greg. I happen to believe he is the only football player that travels with his offseason.
Look, it seeps into the season as well.
I think that he's older, which people need to recognize, but it is a little concerning. You would have thought that this would have been a perfect opponent for him to start getting some numbers. There's a team that plays a zone. Travis Kelce has made a Hall of Fame career by finding little holes inside the zone and then just running up like 5 yards after that. And it's not happening for whatever reason. But again, he kind of had a real dip in performance before the NFL playoffs last year. And then he put together arguably the greatest postseason that an NFL tight end has ever had.
What are you saying exactly, Greg Cody? Say it plainly.
I am saying that even if not in reality, the optics are bad. The optics, the perception is that Travis Kelce has so much else going on that he's not focusing entirely on football.
He's the same age as Gronk. Gronk retired 6 years ago the first time, and then played a couple more seasons and then retired again 3 years ago.
I'm not saying he isn't an aging tight end. And maybe all of a sudden he's fallen. Is that what you're saying? All of a sudden.
Well, wait a minute.
He's
Let's be clear on this. Again, if you did not hear Mike, you may have been questioning Travis Kelce at the end of last season, and then during the playoffs, you had a seismic run through the playoffs where he wasn't old during the playoffs.
You had to stop asking questions.
3 games ago during the playoffs, but Stugotz warned you. Stugotz was way ahead of everybody on this. This is Stugotz last Thanksgiving telling you, I know exactly what Greg Cody's opinion is going to be next September.
I got a message for Travis Kelce, Dan, because he's a friend of mine, and I am telling you right now, he doesn't know this is going to happen, but it's about to happen. They lose more games, okay? He has a drop. He has a big fumble in that game last night. Big turnover, okay?
Yeah, 2 turnovers in the red zone for one of the best red zone teams we've ever seen, as long as Andy Reid's been there.
Yes, and Chiefs fans are going to start doubting Travis Kelce, Dan. If they lose a couple of more games, they're going to start to say that Travis Kelce is not as focused as he's been in years past. He is more focused on his relationship with Taylor Swift. He is more focused on doing his podcast with Jason Kelce. I'll get to him in just a second. Dan, I'm telling you it's coming. Chiefs fans are going to come down on him on sports radio. I am telling you right now, because he's not as focused as he's been in years past. And because he's not focused and he's one of the leaders of the team, the captains of the team, everyone's going to criticize him and say, where's your focus? You've lost your focus. And they're going to start getting mad at Travis Kelce.
Perfect. Thank you for the support.
Thank you for doing it.
No,
well, he said what you were going to do, though. He predicted you. The Chiefs are 3-0, by the way. God help them if they start losing.
A shaky 3-0.
Shaky.
According to Dan, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, when I talk about optics, okay, there's no question that Travis Kelce filmed this horror movie months ago before the season started. No question about that. But it's coming out now. The ads are appearing now, and so the optic is you have a tight end who's struggling, appearing in a horror movie. What the hell's going on?
You're suggesting that the American audience can't piece together that he filmed this before the season?
I think that the optics are bad. That's all.
It was so weird to see Travis Kelce as the only person in the football sphere traveling this offseason.
It's wild. I didn't know.
Everybody else was in a hermetically sealed gym working out 20 hours a day.
And
to Mike's point.
By the way, that UFC T-shirt, that logo looks like a ripoff of Wu-Tang Clan. I'm just going to make that allegation right now.
It's a Pegasus.
It's a Pegasus.
And it's UCF night.
Okay,
the Ultimate Fighting
odd place to go. But
compare the two logos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compare the two
Put those
logos.
next to each other. Radio team, get on
Here's
it.
what else is bad with optics.
Received.
Hold on, he has something else.
Jeremy, get out of the way.
Yeah,
He's rolling.
go to
Get
Greg.
out of the way.
Jeremy's got a banger
Optics.
stat.
He doesn't.
Optics part
I know,
two.
but he doesn't care. He doesn't see that Jeremy's trying to talk.
It's
he,
fine.
He doesn't. He doesn't
Right.
pay attention to what's happening around
It's
him.
Tuesday. It's his day.
Greg,
Optics, second
go ahead.
point.
Continue your point.
I was just going to say another. Speaking of bad optics, somebody brought that up. Another bad optic is the fact that every home game, there's Taylor Swift in the press box, and the over under.
Why is that bad
The
optic?
over under on shots of her. The over under on shots of her in a suite has to be 9.5.
Okay.
They're constantly going to her, and it's a reminder. It's a constant pound you over the head reminder that Travis Kelce. How can he be concentrating on football? Look who his girlfriend is. Only the most famous woman in the world.
He's playing football at the time that they're showing her, but okay.
And catching 2 passes for 11 yards.
Jeremy, you were saying?
At the end of last season, his final 3 games were 5 catches for 28 yards, 5 catches for 44 yards, 3 for 16 yards. This year, it's 3 for 34, 1 for 5, and 4 for 30. Just in between that, in the playoffs, 7 for 71, 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns, 11 for 116 and a touchdown, and 9 for 93.
Sure. What have you done lately?
He did it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll do it now.
We are fortunate on Tuesdays to have 2 of the most popular figures in the history of this show. One of them is enraged right now and remains enraged because of what we've done to him today involving his fantasy team, the Lobos. He has now remembered that the 5th player that he had produce a bunch of points for him this weekend was Jamar Chase.
Yes.
He was very happy, and he is in general made happy by his team, but not happy by the way we talk about his team. So I will try to make Greg Cody someone who is a bit soothed by allowing him to talk about his podcast, The Greg Cody Show, featuring Greg Cody. You can get new episodes every week.
With
Greg
thank
Cody.
you for that.
It's with Greg Cody.
The new podcast, it's with.
Can you please stop shaking the microphone when we
Yeah,
go
I
to
wanted
you?
to make it closer to my mouth.
Yeah, you could have done that, though, before the segment
Shaking it.
started.
Yeah, quit interrupting my the plug of my podcast. It's a very personal podcast. It's a very personal podcast to me because it concerns my birthday party. And some of you in the room here are a part of that. And I heard my wife speak about me in a way that was very emotional. And she doesn't often speak emotionally, particularly in front of 100 people. But she did this time. That's like a running joke, or what are you doing?
I don't know. You've been running
He's
the
getting
joke
mad
for
at you,
20
man.
years.
Okay,
For 20
all right.
years, you've been
No,
running
that's
that
fine.
joke.
Okay, I'm done talking about the podcast.
And your birthday. Yeah.
I wanted you to promote the podcast, The Greg Cody Show.
Yeah, and then you were
featuring
going like
Greg
this
Cody.
the whole time.
Dad, we could hear all of it. We heard everything.
No,
he
I'm
said.
done. I'm done. No, that's fine.
Ron McGill
feels
with
disrespected,
us.
man.
It's very ignorant what just happened to me. It's beyond disrespect. Yeah, it was terrible. Under the guise of trying to be funny, it was like ridiculous.
Ron McGill joins us now, one of the most popular guests in the history of this show. Your wife, when you speak of her with great admiration, and she's not quite as emotional as you are. So I was surprised to hear her speak in a way that made her emotional because she doesn't do a lot of that.
Yeah, what makes you think I'm emotional? What are you getting at? Wicker head.
Dan, if I recall, Dan, I believe you actually got a little emotional when you were speaking up there. I was quite moved by that.
Dan? No.
Dan, yes, he. I should have taped him because Dan got emotional as he was speaking up there.
Yeah, luckily for Ron and everyone else, they can hear that emotion out of Le Batard by listening to my latest podcast episode, which I'm very proud of. My producers stitched all that together beautifully. It's like a tapestry of my life. Just gorgeous.
You rolled on all the speeches celebrating you?
Not all of them.
And play them on the podcast.
Just the good ones.
I am so proud of you.
Yeah, he did.
That's really a service to the audience that couldn't make the boat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's easy content.
Thank you.
The best part that you don't see in the podcast is my dad almost tripping on the cord after his speech and almost ruining the party by falling.
Hey, Gary the Bag. There he is.
There's the bag.
The only time you can hear him is on my podcast.
Ron,
We had to cut that in half, by the way.
1450.
Gary the Bag, a little long-winded.
1430.
1430.
That's a fun.
Thank you.
It should be 1450.
That's what I thought.
Can we check in here, Ron? You've told us for years now that the way to deal with a bear that might be charging is to make yourself big and shout some version of "Hey Bear" at him. I want to play this video for you because some people here are saying that when it's a brown bear, you lay down. When it's a black bear, you fight back. Let's see this video with Ron where a bunch of people are saying if it's brown, lay down. And this bear is just coming up, and they seem totally relaxed. The bear doesn't want any part of them. But is the behavior of human beings around bears different depending on what color they are?
Yes, brown bear is different than the black bear. By the way, that's not a brown bear. I believe that's a black bear that's just in a brown color phase.
Well, that's confusing.
So how do you know? I mean,
what
do we do?
By the shape of the bear.
Yeah,
brown bears are considerably bigger. That's the classic grizzly bear. They have a large hump on their back. Their hair tends to be much thicker and more grizzled hair. Thereby the name grizzly bear. But the bottom line is, I speak generally in Florida because you're not going to have brown bears in Florida. Only in Florida we have black bears. So when you see a black bear, yes, you make yourself look as large as possible. You put your hands up in the air, you scream, never turn your back and run. More often than not, that bear is going to run away. Like I said, it's happened to me several times in my lifetime coming across bears here in Florida. I never even really had to raise my hand. The bear just saw me and ran away. I don't know if I'm that frightening or not, but that was the bottom line. Now with a grizzly bear, a large bear, this bear may come and attack you. And the bottom line is this: if you get attacked, do not fight back a grizzly bear. Get in the fetal position, cover the back of your neck with your hands, try to cover those vital areas. And, I know it's easier said than done, but don't fight back. Try to play dead, and hopefully that bear will think it succeeded in eliminating whatever threat it saw and leave you alone. But that's the difference in black bears and brown bears. But that whole thing, if it's brown, lay down. Well, you know what? There are a lot of black bears that are brown that are not black. So I wouldn't lay down.
What about trying to poke the bear in the eye?
Like Roddy Piper.
Take that with your knife under the giraffe.
Well, hold on a second. Ron.
You don't poke the bear, Chris.
Ron, for 20 years, you've been coming on the show saying if you see a bear, stand up, make yourself as big as possible, and say, "Hey, bear." And now, 20 years later, we're finding out that's only applicable if you live in Florida. For anyone that's been listening nationally, I mean, I don't want to be morbid here. You may be responsible for multiple bear deaths.
Oh, wow.
I don't understand what Ron's doing.
No, that's not
where
true.
The black bear is a
That's
brown
not
bear.
Maybe. No way to know.
They're in a brown phase, Dan.
Listen to what I'm saying, guys.
You have
Listen to
blood
what
on
I'm
your
saying.
hands.
Okay. What I'm saying is that once the attack is on, you play dead. But whenever you see any bear, put your hands up big. Okay.
In Florida.
Hands up big. Start backing back slowly, but make yourself known. If the bear charges and attacks you and it's a brown bear, lay down and play dead. If it's a black bear, fight the hell back.
Well, how do you know if it's like a black bear or brown bear with wet hair? There's black bear with highlights. Like, how do we know what kind of bear it is?
A black bear in a brown phase
running at you full speed when it's in a lake or whatever that was.
Story
And you're like
keeps
trying to look
changing.
at it like, what is how porous is that hair? So what do I know?
Right.
Generally speaking, a brown bear is going to be considerably larger.
Yeah. What if it's an old black bear with gray hair and you think it's a polar bear? Great question, Greg.
Thank you. I mean, you know, if it's an old bear,
Yeah.
it used to be a brown bear,
Now
it's
it's
getting
gray.
old, so
Exactly.
it's white, or it's a gray bear. You know, what do you do if it's
What's
a
a gray bear?
There's actually white bears. They're the
Gray.
ghost bears.
Gray.
What about an albino black bear? What do we do there?
Fight back.
This is
Make
very
yourself look
confusing.
as large as
I
possible.
feel like I need a little
gonna
card.
say,
There,
hey,
look at
bear.
the difference, guys. There, look at the difference.
Listen, I'm supposed to look at its paw print? Look at
Tracks
that.
look
I'm
the
running
same.
for my
I'm not
life.
telling you to look at
saying,
its
hey,
paw
bear.
print. Look at the large, massive size, the grizzled hair. You got the bigger, larger ears on a black bear and those little grizzled ears on a grizzly bear. You know, listen, guys, once you're in that situation, you know, you're on your own. Okay, I'm
Well,
just trying
there
to give
now.
you-
In which state? In which
Finally,
state?
finally, that's finally.
Tell me a
Mighty
state.
exalted
Some
you.
animal expert. Finally, you give it up. Once you're in that situation, it's not any hey bear.
Figure it
It's not-
out.
It's just you're on your own. If it's a black bear in a brown face, it doesn't matter how big a bear it is. Just figure it out. You're on your own. Finally, the animal expert puts down his sword and tells us there is no actual solution.
Is that just in Florida or every state? Figure it out.
Figure it out on your
In
own.
Florida, it's always going to be a black bear, no matter
Got
what
it.
color that it is.
What if it's a jer bear?
What if it's
right,
vacationing?
I'm
Actually, listen, guys. On the East Coast, on the entire East Coast, it's basically going to be a black bear. Okay, brown bears and grizzly bears occur in the western part of the country.
Dan said, put down your sword. What if I brought a sword to the bear fight? Would I be able to survive?
I'm going to move on now to other video. We've spent
Thank
enough
you.
time here wasting
Now Ron's
Ron
getting mad.
McGill's
Jesus.
time. Yeah, we're going to piss off both of them today. Let's show you a sheep here with some deformities. It's got 4 horns. I've never
Not a deformity. It's an actual breed. It's the 4-horned sheep.
Okay, it looks
Wow.
like something from the bowels of hell. I did not.
I granted it is, and this is a spectacular example of a 4-horned sheep. They're usually not that spectacular. The horns are not that large, but it is a certain breed of sheep, the 4-horned sheep, that is not terribly uncommon. But this guy here is a spectacular version of it. That thing looks like, what's the name of that Disney character that what's her name played?
Satan. So this animal's name is the 4-horned sheep.
Yeah, it's a 4-horned sheep. It's a breed.
That's that's a little on the nose. No.
What?
What?
It's just got 4 horns, so it's called the 4-horned
Yeah.
sheep.
Is that
that's what it's
sheep
called.
rocking a medallion? Did I see that? No. Can we throw?
It's got swag. The sheep has.
Oh,
a-
I
Okay, okay. You know, I'm not saying that people
It
aren't
is.
putting stupid crap on the animal to make it more iconic in whatever way they're trying to symbolize it. But the bottom line is the horns are natural in that breed of sheep, as well as the long coat. When you're putting medallions and other things on top of it, that's all, human stupidity.
Enhance.
Tell me how uncommon this is or isn't. We've got a seal. Is this seal attacking a human being?
Pretty
Is
sure this sheep is wearing a satanic medallion.
It,
That's
What sheep was
it
that?
seems
the
like
Enhance.
it seems like a bell is what it's wearing.
Enhance.
A bell of some sort.
Bell.
Thank you, Dan.
Enhance.
Thank you, Dan.
Let's go again, as I was mentioning, to this seal on the beach that is attacking a human being. Usually when this happens, you're telling us it's a mother protecting children.
It could be that, or it could be, listen, it could be just a seal getting a reaction from somebody too.
Jesus.
That doesn't even look like a major adult seal. But all I can tell you is that, that animal does not want that person on the beach and is trying to protect its little beach territory there.
Let that
And
seal
what
try that
these-
on me. I'd do way
Well,
better
listen,
than that person did.
Everybody likes their place in the sand on the beach.
Stumbling and
And that was that seal's place on the beach, and it was basically telling that person goodbye. And
Just
once
wants
the
to give
person
them a
was far
kiss from a
enough away-
rose. That's all.
hey seal.
Oh my God.
Once the person was far enough away, it stopped. Okay, so basically the lesson there is once you're out of what the hell joke did I just
No, it wasn't
5 minutes,
you. It was a seal joke from Jeremy because he can't help himself with the terrible jokes. He just wanted to make a song about the singer Seal in one of his songs.
Oh, yeah.
Let's play for Ron this raccoon in a garbage can and a man using a hockey stick trying to, I guess, rescue the raccoon. How dangerous a situation is this, Ron? Should you just leave the raccoon alone?
Well, no, I would give it. I would give it access to try to get out of the garbage can, but yeah, in that case, I wouldn't put out the stick to help it out, because if it was a real angry raccoon, it'd run up the stick and come get you. What I would do is I would open the can and tip the can over so it runs away. But having you connected to the stick, which gives that raccoon quick access, listen, let's be serious here, guys. Why is this guy doing this? Why is he videotaping this if he really wants to help the raccoon? He's videotaping it for social media for clicks, okay? That's what these people are doing. The social media makes people just flat out stupid.
Ron, you take pictures of everything.
Very contentious.
Don't you have a contract with Canon or something? Yeah,
you
it's
ever
a great
seen
point,
me taking
Chris.
a video of myself doing something stupid?
Didn't you almost
pictures
get
of
killed in
animals.
Africa by a wallaby or something attacking you because you were
You
trampling
would
its
get more
home in the
clicks
middle of
if
the
you
night?
did.
Yeah, taking
Trample
pictures.
the tent.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I heard about that. Hey, Ron, I have a two-part question about the same animal. Number one, is the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain, the dumbest thing on earth? Number two, a herd of bulls escaped a rodeo at a mall in Massachusetts. So forget the bear for a minute. If I'm suddenly in the unexpected proximity of a bull, what should I do?
Get behind whatever large object you can. Make sure that object is between you and the bull, whether it be a tree, a car, or whatever. Get behind it. You're never going to outrun the bull. So find some firm, heavy, powerful, object that you can get behind, like a tree, an automobile, something like that.
Okay. And if you're the commissioner of animals, the global commissioner of animals, which you should be, do you abolish the running of the bulls in Pamplona?
Absolutely abolish it. Absolutely. And not just because, listen, stupid people get hurt doing it, but the bulls can get hurt doing that too. As they run on those cobblestone roads and stuff, they slip, they hurt themselves, they pull muscles. This is just insane, stupid entertainment at the expense of the bulls.
What if the bull was brown and you're living in the state of Florida?
Ooh, good question.
Ron, thank you for being on with us. I
What?
appreciate it, sir. Thank you, sir. Good talking to you again this week.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Love you, Ron.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, Ron.
You did it.
Wasting your time.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
Stugotz came in today, and he was swaggering, and he was breathing hot breath in my face because I said yesterday that Bills bet, Bills minus 5.5, seemed like a special Chris Cody and Stugotz bet. I can spot when I look at the schedule what it is that Stugotz and Chris Cody would bet. They bet the Bills, and they won big betting the Bills.
Yep.
But underdogs that are plus 5.5 are 14-2 this year against the spread. What happened to Jacksonville last night has not happened very much this season to anybody, and I'm guessing you are 2-14 in games like that because you love to bet the big favorites so much.
1-0 in my last one. I mean, how about that?
Anyone plus 5.5 or more is 14-2 against the spread. And it's all a bunch of games like Denver this week where you're like, how is Denver only a 6-point dog against Tampa? And then they go out and the game's never even close.
I took the bait on that one, I have to admit. Dan, you know what? When you bet favorites, listen, it might be the easy thing to do. You know what I can't stand about people who take the underdogs? They think they're smarter than everyone else. You know something that me and Chris don't know. Jacksonville is desperate. They're 0-2. They need to win.
I wasn't brave enough
You had
to
the
believe.
Jags.
No, I did not. I told you. The reason I asked yesterday, the reason I asked you the question is because I'm like, nobody's actually brave enough to bet the Jags in that situation, at least in part because you fear that the Bills can do that at any point to anyone. It's one of the rare teams in the league. It's what Kansas City has been, honestly, the last couple of years that they're not anymore. Kansas City doesn't tend to cover its point spreads and has smaller point spreads than it's had in a long time because their offense isn't what Buffalo's is.
It's just a weird thing for me. When I bet, I like to bet the favorite and hope that they beat a team. I'm rooting for someone to beat someone by like 17 points as opposed to taking the underdog. And it's okay if they lose, just don't lose by, the amount of points I bet you on. I don't like underdogs. Underdogs scare me. Underdogs are for smart people.
All this stuff evens out. So when I hear that stat, that makes me want to crush these favorites even more, Dan, because they're due.
Yep.
We are due.
Do you guys ever bet anything? I want to ask you guys this question because I do this all the time uncomfortably. I bet teams in football sometimes because I am certain they will not cover. And I just feel like I know so little about what I'm doing that the Broncos, of course, will go to Tampa Bay and win like that because, of course.
You're fading yourself?
Yes.
It's odd.
I'm fading what I think is going to happen, what would logically happen. Yes, I'm saying, and I'm scared when I do it, but I do it all the time. That Denver bet is that Carolina bet is something I will make a lot, even though I'm saying there's no way Carolina actually beats the Raiders, right? Then I'll bet Carolina on the money line.
Yeah, it was a brutal week. I happened to have Denver with the points, but that was an exception. I went 6-10 against the spread. Ouch. It's been a bloodbath season for me. I don't know whether for everybody, but there's so many some upsets are foreseeable. There's been, to me, so many unforeseeable, unpredictable upsets that it's been crazy.
You mentioned Carolina. The NFL is so great. You have the ultimate revenge game coming up this weekend. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. He could end their season. I mean, that is awesome.
Must win for the Bengals.
Yeah.
A couple
I mean, it has
revenge
to be
games.
at this point.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett as
right.
well.
Yeah.
Another revenge game. Who can
Jets.
forget
Yeah.
how they oddly caped up for Nathaniel Hackett last season?
So this is how I'm going to know if the Jets this year are for real, because this is a game after an impressive victory the Jets would normally lose. But Denver is strolling in. It's a revenge game, as Mike pointed out. The Jets need to win this game by 21 points. I don't care what Bo Nix did against Tampa. I don't care how that team looked last week. The Jets, if you want to prove it to me that you're for real this year, you beat Denver at home and you beat them by 21 points. I will not accept a 3-point victory.
This might be just the revenge week in the NFL because Monday Night Football put the kids to bed.
Oh, yeah.
Titans-Dolphins rematch from last year's Monday Night
These
debacle.
are crappy revenge games you guys are giving me. Like crap on
Dalton
top of
versus
crap.
the Bengals?
Yeah,
Titans-Dolphins?
They stink. All of
How's
those
ESPN
revenge
handle?
games
Yeah.
stink.
How does ESPN feel
Dolphins are
about that?
favored.
They have a doubleheader, though. They have the Lions and Seahawks on the other end of the
Oof.
card. Man, so many great games across this fair nation. Seems like a hot ticket to get.
Is it a fair nation?
Where do we go to if we want to get a hot ticket? Well, it is a good question. We go to the Game Time app. Do yourself a favor, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, take my word for it. This is my absolute favorite secondary ticket marketplace out there. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time!
Last night, it was Jayden Daniels' time, and it did feel like an arrival. Jeremy, give a stat that is going to blow the nipples off the audience.
According to CBS Sports, Jayden Daniels now has 2 career NFL games where his team scored on every drive excluding kneel downs in 3 career starts. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes combined to do that twice in their entire careers.
It's an underdog at Arizona next week.
That's insane.
Yeah, Jayden Daniels, again, averaged a first down per play in college. I don't know what you think he is, but Dianna Russini just told you, and this would have been good information to have before now when we can all see it, that several head coaches told her that they thought that Jayden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams. Several head coaches who didn't have a high draft pick.
If you're a Bears fan today, you have to be upset because it appears that Daniels is better than Caleb Williams and Justin Fields is 3-0 in Pittsburgh.
Even with the stat Jeremy gave, there's nothing Jayden Daniels has done that's more impressive than his ability to not get injured.
Right.
Thank you.
I would
leads the league.
I would say on the Caleb Williams front, this appears to be the worst offensive line behind a number 1 overall draft pick since the Houston Texans and David Carr. This is a really, really bad offensive line.
You guys all fell in love with Heineke, at least in part because those Washington skill guys are good. Those are exceptional skill guys. But we talk too infrequently in general about offensive lines that are giantly important. Like, I don't know why
we know nothing about
well,
them.
but we spend so much time talking about football and so little time talking about the people who protect the quarterbacks. Caleb Williams will have no success if he does not have protection. Hard stop. Like it's not a thing that's possible to do in that league if your offensive line is bad. Because you all saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl when his offensive line was bad. The Super Bowl that he lost to Tampa when his offensive line was bad.
It was also Tom Brady.
Okay, but he lost 31-9 or whatever it was,
Yes.
and you saw him running for his life the entire game. We don't talk about it enough.
They call the speed option play from the goal line. That is a running play. That is a run block. Your offensive linemen go forward. It looked like a bomb went off. They all got knocked back into Caleb Williams. It was as like just total wreckage and carnage along that offensive line. It's impossible to make a true eval on Caleb Williams. Every time I look up to one of the TVs his game is on, he's running for his life.
A couple of other quarterback things, Stugotz, to get to. There is now breaking news as we talk about this that Brett Favre, whose retirement has been a real disaster that has tarnished, the legacy that he had in football. All of us remembering the idea that he would be able to be great on one of these Monday Night Football games immediately after his father died, and having hero worship throughout his career. We learned after his career that he was, because of the way that he played and because of how violent the game was, he was using a lot of pain medication, and that he was addicted to painkillers. And now he's gone in front of Congress, and he has said that while trying to find remedies for what is happening inside his head with concussions, he has been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so just a heartbreaking story, because that is a physical prison that would be hard for anybody walking the planet, but must be especially hard for anyone who has walked the planet as one of the great success stories in a physical body, where you are the embodiment of toughness, of youth. I remember at the end of his career when he's taking the Vikings to the playoffs, the hits that he was taking as an old man, saying that is all terribly unhealthy for him trying to play on that ankle. And then we learned later on that he just had a real pill problem that anyone could understand if you need to try and get away from the pain in your life every morning when you wake up and every night when you go to sleep.
It's such a sad story. I do wonder if NFL fans know and care about the length these guys go to get back on the field every single Sunday. Because I feel like most fans, and I'm guilty of it as well, we don't care what happens Sunday after the game until the next Sunday when they play again. The stuff that Jason Taylor has told us about that he had to go through just to get his body right so he could play football again on Sunday, I remember you and I kind of wincing because it seems unhealthy. It seems crazy. It seems ridiculous. And I'm not certain fans realize it, or if they care, and I'm not certain I blame them if they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Favre has done a lot wrong in his career and after it, but I really feel for him. My dad had Parkinson's very late in his life, and it's a terrible thing. And Favre is actually a little on the young side. Most people don't get Parkinson's until they're 60 or older, so I really feel for him, and it's a terrible thing.
Brett Favre, at the end of his career when he was playing in his late 30s, looked physically like he had been ravaged. His youth had been ravaged by what we assumed was hard living and football. And so I don't know. Mike, when he's testifying in front of Congress, I'm not sure if it's responsible to assign early onset Parkinson's in your what? Is he early 50s? Is
54.
Are we allowed to make links between this and football because of the testimony that he's making before Congress about trying to avoid concussions?
I'd say the vast majority of people are assuming that there's a link between the two. He is speaking because the misuse of taxpayer funds, where he's alleged to have defrauded the poorest of the poor in his state. This is the first I'm hearing about a concussion drug being tied into that. But just a hell of a setting to reveal as truly sad news.
And I imagine some people who are cynical who have seen Brett Favre sue Shannon Sharp and sue Pat McAfee, I will assume that the cynical will then jump to certain conclusions about, is he trying to get some public goodwill? But this is easily enough verifiable, and I would not wish Parkinson specifically on anyone of any age.
Correct. I mean, who cares? Like, if it's a play on my sympathy, he has it. This is an awful thing that is happening to him.
Another thing less serious than that as it relates to quarterbacks, and Stugotz was mentioning that the expectations are such in New York that he needs his Jets to win by 3 touchdowns to prove that Aaron Rodgers is who he wants him to be as a quarterback.
Who the Jets are, I want them to prove to me that they're a good team. I said I would not accept a 3-point win. I was lying. I would accept a 3-point win. Yeah, I just wanted to.
Okay, you wanted to run that
I'd be
back.
perfectly fine with a 3-point win.
But
yes,
you're expecting them to win by 21. Yes, but if you're a great quarterback in New York, we will overinflate your value. And Greg Cody has some issues with Eli Manning being considered for the Hall of Fame as the best playoff quarterback as a wild card we've ever seen. Twice. Did he make it twice on the road? Not all the games were on the road with the New York Giants in the playoffs, were they? Not all in both title runs, were
I
they?
think maybe there was one home game, but most of them were road games. He made it to the playoffs twice. He won the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah. So is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer, Stugotz?
He is a Hall of Famer. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Big difference.
But he's being bet like one. There's 16 first-time nominees for the Hall of Fame. And his name jumps out largely because the betting odds are 1 to 5 that he's going to get it. That's 83% likelihood on the first ballot. I agree with you. I think he's a likely future Hall of Famer. But first ballot is ridiculous, okay? All right, let's do the pros first. He's got the right position for the Hall of Fame. He's got the legacy badge with 2 Super Bowl wins.
The right name.
And he's got the right surname. Mm-hmm. But there's another side that makes you think, well, really, was he that good? His career record is exactly 500, 117 and 117. Never led the NFL in TD passes, led the NFL in interceptions 3 times. 84.1 passer rating, does not rank in the top 60 all time.
That's like Jay Fiedler, isn't it? 84.1
yes, it's
passer
pretty
ranking?
average. 7.0 yards per attempt, does not rank in the top 100. Okay? And I don't want to be the guy to say apart from the 2 Super Bowls, because that is part of his legacy and it's the top headline
against Brady.
Yeah, but you look at the overall and you don't see a quarterback that screams Hall of Fame to me.
I don't know what you guys are doing where you say,
what do you mean?
Hall of Famer for sure. First ballot, ridiculous.
Yes. There's a difference.
You don't know the difference.
Right, you don't know the difference?
I don't know what you're doing.
First ballot is special, man.
This is what I don't understand about what you're doing. If you're allowing anyone into the Hall of Fame, then them being a first ballot Hall of Famer can't be ridiculous if you think they're worthy of the Hall of Fame.
I disagree.
You're just doing a thing.
Only the best of the best are first ballot Hall of Famers. I'm not certain Eli Manning is the best of the best of anything.
If you're worthy of being in the Hall of Fame, it cannot be said that it is ridiculous for you to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
you can say they shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You can't say it's ridiculous to consider them a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He said it.
He made the playoffs 6 times. Outside of the 2 Super Bowl runs, he's 0-4.
You should say then he's not a Hall of Famer.
No.
You should say he's not a Hall of Famer. Then you can say it's ridiculous to consider him a Hall of Famer. But if you're willing to let him in the door, it's not a big leap to first ballot.
Okay, he might not be a Hall of Famer if it were up to me, but I'm predicting that he will be a Hall of Famer because I know how the Hall of Fame works. Okay, he's
a Manning.
He's a Manning.
Oh, he's getting in first ballot. Yeah,
he probably
it's absurd,
will. But my argument is not that he should be in the Hall of Fame someday. It's that he should be a first ballot guy. That should be reserved for the Tom Bradys, the Peyton Mannings, and guys like that.
That's why my dad kept Craig Biggio out of the Hall of Fame by 1 vote because he was a second-year guy, not a first ballot Hall of Fame.
I love that you put Peyton there, the guy who couldn't beat Brady. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes, absolutely. No, he is. I mean, look at their career numbers. Please.
You're saying publicly Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer.
That's
You're
not
saying,
what he said.
He is saying that if he has
He's a
the
Hall
vote,
of Famer, yes.
You're saying he will get into the Hall of Fame, but according to you, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I am not a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. If I were, I would not vote for him to be in on the first ballot.
On the first ballot, but you would later on.
first
So
ballot.
he's saying
I
he's
might,
a Hall
I
of
might
Famer,
later
just
on.
not
I
first
might
ballot.
later on.
So annoying.
Just make a statement.
He's
Like,
not a
make a
first ballot
statement.
Hall of Famer. That's what he's saying.
Why is that difficult for you
Right.
to believe? Some
Right.
guys are, some guys aren't.
I mean, what do you want from the guy? I would guess that most quarterbacks who have won 2 or more Super Bowls probably have gotten in on the first ballot, I would think. I'm not saying they're deserving. Ben Roethlisberger is not in yet, right? He's not in. He's not a first
Hasn't been
ballot
eligible,
guy.
I don't think.
Is he a first ballot guy? I don't think he is.
All right, let me explain this to the
he would
layman
be a
out here.
first ballot
Two-time
guy.
Super
He
Bowl
would be
winner.
a first ballot
All
guy.
right, just
He was
so-
better than
We'll
Eli.
see. Oh, now look who's playing the
Guys,
game, huh?
Let me simplify this for everyone out there who doesn't seem to understand. Okay. You have friends. You have a friend group, correct? Like you have friends. Yes,
Sure.
we agree. You have friends. Everybody has friends, a number of friends. And then you have a best friend, right? Some people are worthy of being your friend, but they're not your best friend. Now, your best friend is still your friend, but it's a better friend than a regular friend.
Great analogy.
So like a best friend, you can't say,
Bingo.
is not a friend. They're still a friend. They're just not the best friend. And the best friend is reserved for the best of the best, just like first ballot is reserved for the best of the best.
Billy, you have not been the same since you were going to the bathroom pooping and you didn't lock the door and somebody walked in.
That's not okay. First
What?
of all,
Wait,
HIPAA.
what?
Second of all, I did lock the door, and the door did not lock properly. And that is something here that, if I'm going to be honest, I've weighed my options and haven't decided yet. But like, this may be a legal situation
Yes,
that I take
yes.
up with the building here, because I went upstairs and I went to the bathroom and I pushed lock on the door, and there I am doing my business. And then all of a sudden, the door opens.
Which one? 10th floor?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All of a sudden, the door opens. This one used to be I think there used to be a picture of Mike's face on this door.
Yeah, that's my
They'd
executive
complain about
office.
yeah.
Wait.
So I went.
I love this. Paint the picture. Let me close my
I'm
eyes.
trying.
What do you
He's
say?
trying to paint.
What do you say when the door opens?
Well, no.
Don't paint the picture.
No. I want to get to the sound
Oh, I painted
you
that
make.
toilet, my friend.
I want to get to the sound all of us would make if somebody were walking in while we weren't expecting.
Occupied!
Because this,
Someone's in here.
This
Occupied!
This is a very
Being used!
very vulnerable thing. You guys are saying words because I wouldn't get to words.
I didn't get to words. I was just
That's-
sitting there. All of a
that's
sudden,
it.
the door was like,
A jazz band is what it would be.
well, I was shocked at first, and I like pressed it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I locked this
I was
door.
unsure whenever I pressed
Right?
that one. I'm like,
and
how is this strong
I
enough?
know I went through the motions and I locked it, and then all of a sudden the door opens like, and then you know what happened? It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have caught on to this when you walk by someone and like you quickly just like, hey, how's it going? And then just repeat the exact same thing. How's it going? Whatever. Like whatever you say, someone will probably repeat the same thing back to you when you greet them, right? So like I just go, and the person that opened the door is like, and then they closed the door, and I was like, all right, we got to get out of here. Like we're finishing this as quickly as possible and going.
It's very vulnerable. We can all agree.
Well, yeah, because like, what if I make eye contact with that person when I'm on the toilet? They
make
steal
eye
my
contact.
soul? Like, what happened?
If they make eye contact with your dick.
Well,
your relationship will
they
not be
can't.
the same with that person.
well, especially if I
ever
know
again.
the person, that'd be even weirder. But I was like, yeah.
Even worse. Even worse. You sound a bit like Dizzy Gillespie. You're playing some music in the bathroom as somebody walks in.
Oh.
I know who that is, but for those that don't.
I was shooting a horn that
Good
day. I'll
reference.
tell you what, buddy.
It sounds like. Yeah, I got it already. Okay, you guys, can you
sure?
elevate
I
it
mean,
just a little bit?
butt
Yeah, I got it.
cheeks. You're the one
Mike's
that
like,
got us here.
they see your penis. Yeah,
You
so-
brought it
So
up.
everyone's
the
trying to
penis.
look
Whoa,
at
Who
it.
said penis?
No, you're
Everyone's
going
trying to. I say.
No.
Everyone's trying to look at it.
No, but you're
Huh?
going number 2, and you got your penis tucked, don't you?
It's very vulnerable. Please just leave for a while. Can you just leave
What
for
do
a
you
while?
mean?
Can you just
toss it
can-
over your shoulder?
Can
I
you
mean, you
just
go to the bed,
just please
1 and 2 at the same time.
Got a minor penalty, 2 minutes for ruining comedy.
Tuck rule.
Fool. I know
He got there.
he got there as I kicked him out. He finally gets there with the tuck rule.
That must have been really awkward for you and Skip.
It's
Billy, I do believe this is inappropriate for you to be.
I can't get words out in that situation.
No,
I don't
I
get
wouldn't either.
coherent syllables.
But they
out.
got it. They
I'd
got
go
the
whoa.
message. They did the same
Whoa.
thing back, and then they left.
Do you know how rare and vulnerable a situation has to be for you not to be able to get to spoken syllables that are coherent because you are so eager to run someone out of a room and a door you thought was locked?
Yeah.
That's why you should never defecate in public. I can count on one hand the number of times in my life that I have sat at a toilet that was not in my own home.
Let's do that.
No, I can.
Let's
Unless
do
I
it.
have the
Let's
most
do it.
extreme
There was that
dancing
Number
number.
five.
It just does not happen.
Get the fan
Number
ready.
5.
Number 5.
Well, it's a figure of speech. I can count on one hand. I can't actually.
A Ramada Inn in Des Moines.
Golden Oldies tryouts.
A truck stop in Albany.
A Starbucks in Sacramento.
Going to Buffalo with Bernie Pomley.
Yeah.
Dan, you had the stat about underdogs of 5.5 points or more being 14-2 against the spread. I believe they might actually have a winning record straight up. And there's a lot of those lines this weekend in football. But as you can imagine, it's been a very difficult season to predict, especially just on the money line. Survivor pools all across this great nation are being destroyed. I told you yesterday that we had a scenario in which there were 9 people alive just in week 3. Hundreds of people are in this league, and only 9 had made it to week 3. And I told you 6 of the 9 had been eliminated, but 3 had the Cincinnati Bengals. So I was very curious. I've never been encountered with this scenario this early in the season. I'm the commissioner of my Survivor League, and Yahoo's rules stated that the 9 people that were in this league, now this was specific to Yahoo, they all shared the title. But they all share the pot. No one wants to chop this pot 9 ways. So I had a dilemma that I posed out for the democratic process to vote on.
I have a suggestion. Let everyone back in, especially those who lost week 1 with the Bengals, like me.
So, start over?
That was one of the options is we can just say that this is a result. I'll chop this 9 ways. Everybody will get like $74, and we can just start a new one since this was a bloodbath this season. But there was another rule in Survivor that this happens to is essentially everyone that was alive at the start of the week, if everyone is eliminated, those 9 regain new life. And so I put it to the group of 9 really to vote on this. Do you want to chop the pot and be done and start again? Right now everybody is voting for let's let it ride with these 9 and try to get a grand champion at this, which is truly the most pathetic grand champion in Survivor Pool history. How are you doing just straight up in your picks, Greg?
Not good.
It's a terrible year. It's a terrible year to predict this sport. While everybody is complaining about the quarterback play and the points that are not being put up, it's been a really unpredictable NFL season. Usually, predictability is a bad thing, so you would think that we'd all be going nuts over these upsets, but everyone's just upset that they can't win a goddamn parlay.
I know, and the problem is normally when there's an outright upset, you can say to yourself, all right, I should have seen that coming, or I can see that. There have been upsets out of left field this year. There have been a couple more this week where you never saw it coming. You never gave a scintilla of thought to picking that upset. It's been terrible.
It also, I believe, is proof, yet again, as if we do not know this, that we go into every week with so much analysis, and yet it is not something that helps you. The information is not something that helps you properly pick the games. What do you guys do with when you're watching all of these pregame shows on Sunday? All the people who are experts are getting everything wrong. That when are we going to stop with the idea of entertainment, people picking the games as if they know who's going to win when it doesn't appear that anyone is good at it? I can tell you, Warren Sharp knows what he's talking about. And when he came on here and gave us his picks, he went 1-13 and had to give people an apology discount. Or did he even get the 1 in 1-13? I don't even know. I think he went winless because I don't know when it is that the audience is going to say there is no one out there who actually knows what the results of the games are going to be, no matter how much information they have.
just a numbers game. They got to know more than other people, right? And we love picks. How does College Game Day end every week? With picks. We love to see who people who've committed their professional life to picking these games.
It's easier in college football. It's a great deal easier in college football when there are giant talent disparities.
Guys, I know how frustrating this can be. So instead, baseball? You want to talk baseball?
Oh, stop it. We're not talking baseball. Okay.
All right. That's fair.
I want to talk baseball. I do want to talk baseball.
Really good. Today's going to be great.
When's pitch clock again?
That'll be on Thursday, Dan, with Mike Schur, who definitely wants to hear more of my voice on the show.
I want baseball.
How'd that feel yesterday when he said that?
It was great. I clipped it and I sent it to my wife.
I want baseball, but I don't believe that you guys. I wanted to talk boxing. I wanted to talk Anthony Joshua.
1984.
Being a chandelier. You got
Tarek Skubal, my Tigers. 1 o'clock.